What the hell?
What the hell will be the first thing that goes out on this cast? But I love you, Charles, so it's all good. All right. Hello, everybody. This is Irongeek cast number 103. Eating dead pork. How are you doing tonight?
Happy, wonderful Wednesday, everyone. We're going to rock out tonight.
I'm here eating some Penn Station sub and getting fat. What's everyone else doing?
I'm on camera.
All right, who's got the soundboard?
AP.
That would be
you, sparingly, please. Oh, by the way, Charles, you got another podcast you're going to be on before long.
At 9, I think it's like 9:15. Something called Grumpy Hackers. It's my first time being on. I think this is episode 1, so we'll see what it's all about. I have no details.
You're pretty non-grumpy man, so.
I know, that's why I'm laughing about the title, because it was like, and Amanda was like, yeah, false advertisement.
I love you, man, but on a Monday morning, I can see how you might be. I'm trying to be nice about this. I can see how on a Monday morning people might get annoyed with you, but you are always a very upbeat guy.
Oh, come on. People are always annoyed with me, and I managed to live through it. I don't think it's a Monday thing.
Case in the Mondays.
Oh,
right,
nice.
Where am I going? I'll go ahead and fuck it. Let's do the list in the order I see it on my screen. I think it gets different orders for different people.
Mm-hmm.
AP, how you doing?
Who, me? Oh, I'm perfectly happy today. I'm watching the world burn, and I'm taking your advice and looking at it all with a big smile on my face.
How's the building of the Death Scooter going?
It's coming along. Rolling thunder. I got more parts in this week, so the pirate box is now fully functional. The collie box is totally functional, and the network is fully functional. All that's left now is to get it all working on battery.
So you got one more thing to do on that. You ever seen those old Roman movies? By the way, we had a little bit of peppermint schnapps. You ever seen those old Roman movies where they had the chariot races, and one of the chariots had those spikes that come out of the wheels?
Yeah. That's for later on.
That's for later on. As long as it's the plan.
I have actually made a serious request to have powered chair jousting.
Yeah.
We're going to see if anyone allows that or not. It may not be permitted because of obvious potential injuries, but the inquiry has been made as to whether or not we can do power chair jousting.
The only person I've seen use one much is Amanda.
Appropriate safety equipment.
Say again?
It seems like it would be power chair jousting would be perfectly reasonable if you had appropriate safety equipment for the participants.
Exactly. That's what we're working at. I'm working at the details, but you know how some people are. They won't let you have popcorn because you might choke on it. So
I'm about to post something on Twitter that may cause some people to react. So we'll see what happens. I'm gonna post that.
What happened?
As opposed to what?
What I'm gonna post is something about DerbyCon is who basically financed most of the video equipment I have in my possession. So I'm good for the next 4 years, I think, because they bought me new stuff in 2018. But a lot of conferences, eventually, I can't drop that much cash. Then again, most conferences aren't 6 tracks, or at the highest, they'll become 6 tracks. But anyway, that's a different subject. Let's go to Caprico. How you doing?
Doing well. Another day in paradise. Another day researching, which is good. Had a fun time researching for my Docker stuff that I've been working on. But other than that, just trying to stay off Twitter as much as possible this week. Yeah. And
there's a wisdom in that.
Yeah. The only part of this week that I've been on Twitter, it was right when the DerbyCon announcement happened, and then I messaged Dave, and that was it. So I have been off Twitter for this whole week.
Are you suffering from withdrawal?
Nope. I have more time to do stuff.
Yeah. So you're more productive. You don't have the black shakes. You're not running around with a needle in your arm. I mean, it's all good.
I'm not running around with a giant chip on my shoulder, so there you go. That's a good thing.
The world needs more of that right now.
Yep. So that's basically me. Had a fun day at work, so that's it.
The world needs love right now.
If you start singing that song, there's going to be an issue.
What the world needs now. I love you, AP.
Come on, keep going. You got to sing it. Sing it.
Yeah, we got to keep going. Let's do. Next up is Charles.
Hey, so my week has been pretty interesting. I've had some fun. Of course, you know, there's sad news about DerbyCon, but all in all, been playing around with AWS Goat. I'm trying to get that set up on my AWS. Yeah, AWS Goat is allows you to pen test AWS services. It's kind of similar to like WebGoat and OWASP Broken Web Apps, but this is something to practice pen testing like AWS cloud settings within AWS.
Oh, so it's like damn vulnerable Linux.
Yes. Yeah. And another thing too, what I just found, and it's like flaws. It's something called flaws.cloud. That allow somebody already has the AWS image up there where you could test. I just put it into the chat, and I'll put it into the show notes where you can. It's like a flaws challenge. Somebody already has the AWS cloud instance up and running, where you can just go through the different challenges and you test stuff related to AWS in general. So I just found that probably like 20 minutes ago, and I saved it on that page. I bookmarked it.
Have you signed up for the new AWS ground station offering yet?
No, I haven't signed up.
I signed up for it. I got a acknowledgement, but they haven't opened it up yet.
Okay.
I cannot wait to get on that because that's going to be a big score for me.
Well, score on, my brother. Score on.
What is ground station?
It's a cloud-based link that allows you to use antenna arrays to do data communication by satellite.
Sweet.
Right up your alley, Nightshade.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I proposed a system just like that about 3 years ago to a company, explained to them how it was going to solve all their problems, and they laughed and laughed and laughed at me, and then they fell over laughing, and then they ate a bunch of Swedish fish and ignored me. So I had to get a 50-pound bag of Swedish fish and a card that says, "I told you so," that I'm waiting to send to these people as soon as they launch this.
Sorry, I almost fell out my chair. Jesus Christ. All right.
Yeah, it allows you to control satellite communications, downlink and process satellite data, and scale your satellite data network. It is some awesome stuff.
So the question is, you have to own the satellites that you're receiving from.
You might want to check into that because there's a lot of satellite stuff out there that is out there for free, like Othernet or Outernet. And this would be a groundbreaking thing for Outernet because the number one problem with Outernet right now is all their hardware is absolute dog shit. And 90% of the stuff you see about Outernet is, hey, how come this thing doesn't work? How come I can't get a signal? How come I can't get this and that and this and that? They keep making different little $100 kits that supposedly you can toss on your roof and pick up their signal, and you can't get jack shit with them. And this would solve that problem in a heartbeat.
Satellite downlink is a solved problem. I mean, look at fucking DirecTV.
Right, but that's for TV. We're talking about data. We're talking about internet.
It's all digital data. It doesn't. My point is not that. My point is that it's a solved problem for antenna connected to coax to a box you talk to, and what the fuck, Outernet? Like, how can you fuck this up?
Well, their hardware is fucked up. Okay, they're trying to do it as cheap as possible. I mean, literally, 2 plates, a capacitor, and a Raspberry Pi for $100, and you can't get the signal. Oops, well, you're doing something wrong. Okay, but the thing is, this would eliminate that completely. You could spin up a virtual machine inside of AWS and then use AWS ground station and say, give me this signal. Oink.
But wasn't the idea behind OuterNet is that you're bringing the internet and specifically Wikipedia to regions of the world that aren't on?
Yes, but the thing is, you can't get to it. It's no good, and that means both for the givers and the receivers. This will open up a huge gateway for the givers.
Oh, okay, I understand now.
Also, OuterNet is always sucking the dog's left nut because they can't afford the satellite time. They're having a hard time with getting someone to give them this, and they're on this network, then they're on that network. And 1 minute they're on Hughes, and the next minute they're going to be on the other Iridium, and then Iridium deal fell through. And, this will just be a big boost to help them stabilize the whole project. I want to see this project go fucking wild, because the upshoot of the project is basically, if you're out in like outer Nambia and you got no clean drinking water and you got a village of 500 people, they're starving because they're drinking horse piss, okay? You can put together a small kit, stick it in the ground, point it to the sky, go to Wikipedia and download a how to make water purification out of MacGyverism, and put together, and all of a sudden you just saved the lives of all these people in the middle of nowhere. It was partially what the IMI was based on, the Internet Marconi Initiative, which fell apart after two of the primary people decided to fuck off and do something else. But it's still going to happen. The IMI is still going to happen, probably not till next year. But the idea is that you should be able to take a relatively cheap kit, go anywhere in the world, stick it in the sky, and get at least some kind of information downflow that you need. How's that for like change the world a little bit, All
right, we had Charles last. We'll get through all the intros just so people get through them. Unless Charles has something else to say real quick.
No. Let's rock out, man.
Got Darren up next. What's up, Darren?
Sorry without washing my hands off. Not much going on with me. Well, I'm preparing dinner, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm handling raw meat, so I don't want to handle my shit with with raw meat hands. Yeah.
You don't want to handle your shit with raw meat hands. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Caprico, your mom knows about that, doesn't she? Right? Okay. As I was saying. Got you back, yes.
Damn.
Anyways, just kind of hanging out, watching news feeds, doing a little training here and there. I've got stuff non-IT related too that I'm working on, so there's that. Yeah, mostly non-IT stuff in my life. So right now it's kind of like I'm kind of the lucky Pierre of the group, I guess you'd say.
How many entendres can you fit into an introduction?
I could do more, but there's always so much time.
Next.
All right, next up we have Jindo. I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah, you're not hard to compile. Go ahead.
No. No, I'm
Go
not. Nothing really happened. Nothing good. So, whatever else is going on. Next.
This is on something that's not a downer. So tell us something happy at least.
I really can't think of any. I'm not dying yet, I guess.
That's a big plus. That is a
What's
big
the
plus.
topic?
We don't have a girl yet. We're just doing intros. But Jindo has nothing happy to say, so we'll move on to our resident physicist.
Oh, that's me now? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm enjoying the government shutdown. I haven't noticed any change in my life over that. They can keep it shut down as long as they want, as far as I'm concerned. And and I thought I fired my bank in December. Apparently they didn't take the hint, so I've been fighting with them about that.
Go Power Ranger.
Yeah, when you start getting like email about contact us immediately, and I was like, oh, what the hell is this about? And then they're claiming the account that I closed was overdrafted, and I'm like, well, only because you guys first gave me $25 and then took it away or some shit. Instead of waiving a fee, that's how they did things. And I was like, well, nobody told me. Like if they said, oh, by the way, because we waived this, we gave you $25 instead of waiving the fee, so you have the $25 to pay for the fee. I would have left the $25 in there and said, when that goes, close the freaking thing. But this bank is brain dead, which is why I'm firing them in the first place.
Seem to be a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Sad thing is, there are not a lot of alternatives.
I spoke to a bank manager regarding fraud, and some of the evidence I had was printed out from emails and that. And he mentioned something about having to seek a refund or refunding money to Gmail, and at that point I knew it was pointless.
Yep. It's kind of like when you call GoDaddy support and they say, okay, well, have you tried clearing your cookies yet? You know right there from that point on you're doomed.
Okay, I think we got Jack up next. But Jack's on mute, so.
No, I'm here. So the only thing I've been doing this week is just building out my VMs on my new box, which is
Awesome.
Wonderful. I9 for the win. Sorry.
I hate you so much right now, dude.
You bought an overpriced meme. Good job.
Nah, I just
I9. Ooh, that's awesome, man. What VM are you building? Just a combination of Windows and Linux VMs, or just all Windows?
Let me see here. Right now, I got Windows 7, 8.1, 10. Of course, my go-to, which is Linux Mint, Ubuntu.
That 7's about EOL, is it?
Jesus Christ.
No, 7 won't be EOL until the next iteration of Windows comes out. Then it'll get like another 6
I thought it was scheduled for 2020. That's my bad.
Yeah, it's scheduled for 2020, but I mean, by this point, it doesn't even matter because the only thing I'm doing on it is infecting it with malware.
Yeah.
The rhesus monkey of software. What can you say?
Oh wait, yeah, that's right. Extended support until mainstream ended actually 2015. That's right, because they had Windows 8 and then 10, because Microsoft always does the N+1 thing. So, all right,
let's go on to Liz, our resident reptilian.
Yes, hello.
Hey, Liz.
I'm just in between conferences right now. Looking forward to ShmooCon. Thinking of doing something a little bit different this year. I've never actually done a CTF in any of these cons. I figure, except briefly to wireless CTF at DEF CON. So I figure, why not?
I've ran one, but I've never actually participated in one.
Hey, hey, Liz. You're gonna be at ShmooCon. Cool. I don't have a ticket, but I'm going to do LobbyCon.
I don't have a ticket either, but for the past 4 years, I've always managed to get one within the last 2 or 3 days before the con. So I figured probably a good chance this year.
Well, you can hang out in LobbyCon.
Yeah.
Worst case, I'll definitely do LobbyCon.
Yeah. How you enjoying the Raspberry Pi?
I'm enjoying it quite a lot. Thank you very much, good sir.
Oh,
yes,
no
I
problem,
am.
Man.
Yes, I am, good sir. And kind of a surprising wealth of open source games out there. Really a shocking amount. Not all of them good, but still.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's its own repository. A RetroPie is its own repository if you browse around a bit. And it lists an enormous amount of games you can install.
You say RetroPie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this isn't anything new. It's just old school ROMs being able to run on the Pi.
ROMs or fan games.
Wait.
Okay.
But do they have Pong?
Yes, they have Pong.
I think it's a very high chance of it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, is there anyone making new games that are designed for the Pi?
Not that I'm aware of.
I sincerely doubt it.
When you first mentioned it. Well, when you first mentioned it, then my thought was, wow, some new original content, because it seems anytime anyone puts out a new microprocessor, the first thing they do is, okay, let's run Doom on it, you know?
Yeah.
And then after Doom comes MAME, after MAME comes NES, and, you know, which is brilliant. I love it.
Those are all low power platforms. Those are not high power platforms.
Right.
Yeah, there's not enough money to imagine game development for the Pi, you know. And if you develop something for the Pi, sure, because it's low end, you can do that. But then you can might as well port it to everything else, because if it run on Linux, you can recompile it on pretty much any other Linux box on any platform and make it work.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, yes, there are still people making Super Nintendo games.
Okay. See, I was never much a console person. I kind of skipped that part of my life. I went from the Atari 5200 to the PC.
That's fine. I'm just saying, since it's essentially an emulation platform, saying that there's going to be games specifically for it, it just seems silly. It's an emulation platform. It's like saying you make an act specifically for a mimic, or it's a very weird thing to say.
Well,
yes,
I'm a
more
very
things are
weird
being
person.
made that the Pi can run.
I'm a very weird person. I believe in taking the new technology and doing new shit with it. Like, imagine imagine you could put together a Pi-based system that would allow you to have something like your Pokemon Ding Dong game, where you don't have to have a phone, you don't have to pay for a phone service, but you can run around in your backpack all over town and interact with each other and have some kind of, you know, out in the real world augmented reality game.
Well, at some point, you could probably put Android onto a Raspberry Pi, and then you could download Pokemon Go onto it, and you basically have the same thing, but you would still have to... You could basically build out...
You would need a SIM card, but yeah.
Not necessarily. If you
not necessarily, because you could do it over, you know, Bluetooth. You could do it over Wi-Fi.
Bluetooth?
Why not?
Wait,
that would be a very awkward.
It'd be awkward, but it could be done. It'd be something new.
Hey, P, are you going to do it?
You'd be very leashed.
I'm not a coder by trade. I would like to do something like that. You know what I'd like to do is bring back Majestic.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if any of you ever played Majestic.
Does not ring a bell.
Many years ago.
Many moons ago, when the continents weren't in the same shape, there was an alternative reality, not augmented reality, but alternative reality game, an ARG called Majestic. And it was a conspiracy theory adventure kind of game. And when you signed up for the game, you gave it your email address, your cell phone number, your pager number, whatever. And then as the game progressed, you would automatically get shit sent to you. Like, you would get a voicemail from somebody saying, hey, you know, this is Dave at the office. Check out this website. You go to the website, and it would give you a clue to some place to go. And you go to that place. Say it was a nightclub. And you see a code on the wall, and you scan that in, and it gave you a clue to something else. And then you met with 2 or 3 other people, and you put your clues together, and you discovered things. And then all of a sudden you get a fax at like 3 a.m, and it would have one part of a puzzle and, you know, stuff like that. It was just a really in-depth game, which was killed by 9/11 because everybody was so spooked post 9/11 that they were getting freaked out by the game, calling them or paging them at 4 a.m. saying, you know, help, I need help. There's a guy following me and stuff like that. But it was a very groundbreaking game for its time. And I don't think we've seen the likes of it since.
Okay. Well, let's move on to, just so we get on with the show notes, Wiki Tiki Tia, what's up?
I'm going to keep mine super quick, just working towards the pilot episode of Security Illusions, which will be coming soon.
Okay. That sounds good, and I don't have anything else to say other than what I said in my very intro. So I guess we get into the show notes, and our friend Israel's not here, but I believe that Caprico's going to take on this part ahead, the breach report.
Yep. So I will be in place of Israel this week. First up in the breach report, we've got, let me share my screen real quick. We've got Forever 21 breached for 7 months. Their point of sale terminals were compromised. And if you in the last 7 months have gone to a Forever 21 store and bought anything there using a credit card, your credit card information is basically out there or is subject to compromise at this point.
Son of a bitch!
Yeah, I really like my Forever 21 shirts, man. Now they might cost me a lot of stuff. In mid-November, Forever 21 admitted that a third party suggested there might have been authorized access to the payment card data on December 28th, 2017. The company revealed more details about the breach without actually saying how many customers were potentially affected or even which stores have been compromised. This is not a good thing. And this was released the first of the year. So happy New Year for Forever 21.
Awesome.
Yay.
All unicorn t-shirts are now $1 today. Won't you come on down?
Yeah, there's a general lack of information in here. They talk about the data that was available is the track data, but they don't say track 1 or track 2. Track 2 obviously has the actual. What's that?
Both.
Oh, probably both, but they just named track data, that it only contained track data. Well, that's kind of what you want.
Yeah, that's how you clone a card.
That's the card. There also, encryption on POS devices itself isn't a big thing in retail. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of retail stores that do have encryption on their POS devices, but it is expensive and a lot of them opt out. Retail isn't known for having lots of money in capital. They have small, at times very small profit margins. So a lot of them opt out of that. And where you get your encryption is on the transmission between the purchase of the POS system and the payment processor. That link is generally encrypted, but the POS device itself, including the card reader, a lot of times is not encrypted. And that's from experience pen testing various retail shops and working for a retail shop myself.
Now, you're saying that it's more of a financial matter than a technology one.
Yeah, because encryption adds a price to each of the transaction. Each time you run your card through, there's a price related to that transaction.
That's more monetization, though. That's more monetization than a technology problem again, right?
Yeah. I mean, it becomes a burden, especially for stores as big as Forever 21.
No, I totally understand. The thing is, the whole credit card processing system, in general, is fee to death. There's a fee for everything you do.
Yes.
The thing is, why would you want to incur a fee schedule that would purposefully make your data more vulnerable? I mean, it's like, who's paying for these breaches in the end? Someone's either making money off of it, so they're making money on both ends. Either they make money from selling you the encryption, or they make money from you being breached.
Well,
it's
probably from the merchants who are doing that because they're the ones who enforce the encryption and the POS standards, which we have the chip and pin because that was implemented and that there was a mandate of if it was 2018, I believe, or 2017, where if you weren't using it by October of that year, you were now liable for any fraud. So if you weren't using the chip rather than the swipe method, you would take the hit if someone fraudulently charged.
Yeah, exactly right. So I don't want to keep on on this article. I know we've got a lot of other stuff to get to. Just want to add that little bit in there. Obviously, there's ways that they could get around this. File integrity monitor, perhaps EDR solution on the POS itself. I'm sure this was some type of malware executing on the POS.
They
blaming encryption is just a piece of it.
They said in the article that the malware was only malware was on the actual POS device. They weren't like sitting in a middleman position just monitoring unencrypted traffic. No, it was on the POS devices itself. So, and to my guess is they're not encoding it when it goes to the actual device and stored in memory.
That's right.
So even if you do have encryption going from your POS device to your PCI network, there's still some inherent risk to the actual physical access to the device.
I just think it's important before this gets shut down. Okay, I think it's important to note that a lot of this is because people are trying to monetize the security instead of saying, we need security. And instead of saying we need security and here it is, it's like, well, you need security, so buy it from us. It's a solvable problem. It's not an insurmountable problem. It's just that people are greedy and people are cheap.
We make it an industry. No, while ideally the goal of security is to kill its own industry, to make it so it's no longer needed, that's anathema to how modern businesses work.
Oh, I never thought about that.
They want sustainable revenue.
Security is basically like social movements. Like, let's say that they once they actually accomplish what they want, they keep going because there's money in it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. I think that's the important thing to look at, because
slightly different.
We could solve this problem. This problem is solvable.
Let Liz expound on that, because I think it's important to hear. It's an interesting idea. We've been talking about it for a little while.
Agreed.
So it's a little bit different. For businesses, they will never actually aim to solve the problem normally. They will try to have the magic box that they can keep selling. They will make a business model that they can see. They do not see a cap in potential revenue from, or much of a cap.
There is nothing that's unhackable, though.
Yes, but the cost of compromise can always be raised. And that's ultimately the goal, to raise the cost of compromise, be it time, resources, manpower, you name it. Now, for social movements, I guess there is an overlap between social movements and some business models and FUD. Once a goal has been accomplished, you have people fear-mongering, saying, no, the bad people are still out there. The risk is enormous. You need to give me money so I can protect you from those horrible bad people or bad, evil, magic hacker powers.
Yeah.
The only difference is those are real. Magic hacker powers are real. But the longer a technology exists, the more likely it's going to be hacked. The longer something is around, the more likely somebody is going to find a problem with it. On the social side of it, they're just inventing boogeymen to keep us scared and hiding under our beds with flashlights.
So I guess you can make an argument that some businesses and some social movements are very similar in that regard. They peddle fear in order to get money.
Sure, but I mean, I just think that from a technology point of view, that fear is real. What we have right now, our cutting edge technology right now, 10 years from now, someone's going to find a backdoor in it. They're going to find a vulnerability. They're going to find a
vulnerability in it 50 years from now. My God.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That threat is real. So
but that's
Go
ahead.
So that's a real threat. So you can build a business model based on that. You can say that the 2018 POS systems are going to have to be updated and changed and meet new compliance regulations in 2019, 2020. As things go, we're going to have to upgrade this stuff, because the longer this thing sits, somebody's going to hack it. And that's always going to be true, always and forever. There's no manipulation. There's no fantasy. There's no imagination land. It's real. Everything is going to be hacked eventually the longer it exists. And that's when you put it aside and you bring in something new. That's something you can base a business on. In the social medium, you're like, it's white cisgender guys this week, and then next week it's white cisgender guys who drive a Prius. And then next week it's like, damn, we're running out of money. Okay, guys who drive a Prius and they stay in the slow lane when they shouldn't be. Okay, and then the next week it's like suburban people who drive in the slow lane. And they have to keep inventing things that aren't real in order to keep their money flow going. So, I mean, it's the same principle. but there's a distinct difference between doing it as a business. Businesses don't have to make up the boogeyman. The boogeyman is out there.
I think
Well,
this
it
is a
really depends.
thought
Money.
experiment that needs
really-
a little more thought behind it.
It really depends on the business model, man.
People are going to want money.
Take for example the big FUD. Well, some of the fears, public fears over Facebook, have been focusing on the wrong threat, so to speak. I guess this is probably a little bit more on the privacy side, but I think it's a related topic. Big public fears around Facebook have been regarding API access for application integration, which that's not really, if you know the area, that's not really something to be freak out about. Whereas there's but that's what's getting that's what's gotten the attention, the focus. That's what gotten the regulators, the lawmakers are all focusing on that hysteria around app integration.
That brings up a whole other problem with how long is it going to be before we have lawmakers that are hip to technology and can
It's a
actually speak
generational
with some
thing.
authority? Yes.
Well,
But
okay,
we're
look
going
at
to
it
catch
this
up to
way.
it eventually. Eventually, it's going to happen.
We have more people from the silent generation than we do millennials in Congress. So yes, it's going to be a while.
Right. That problem may solve it. May solve itself though, in a little while.
Time will solve the problem. It's just how many decades do you want to wait?
Yeah. Well, we have no choice when it comes to in America. We don't have a whole lot of choice.
Technically, you do. I mean, people can a lot. So Congress can't know everything. They rely a lot on trusted advisors, think tanks. If you really want to make the change, I know it sounds a bit corny, be the change.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. But it's going to be a while.
Absolutely help. It does absolutely help.
Going to be a while before people like you and me are sitting in seats in Congress.
Yeah, I don't necessarily mean going. I don't mean going that far. I don't mean actually being
I said
a lawmaker.
people like you and me, not you and me. You and me probably isn't going to happen. But when someday a congressman sits down and says, I remember trading wares. Okay, I see what's going on here.
A lot of legislations, the actual wording is written by staffers. You know that.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
A lot of legislation. So you got to wonder. They can slip things in. I don't know any specific. It's something that people say. Oh, the practice is so common. It's kind of assumed, but I'm not in. I've not really been deep enough in any of those circles to know any specific instance of this happening. It's just kind of like a stereotype at this point. So I'm assuming it happens fairly frequently.
I'll say this. It's going to be one of three things, okay? We already have gotten past the impossible of marijuana being legalized. And we did that by having a generation of marijuana users get into the lawmaking process one way or another, whether it was as the actual lawmakers or their advisors. Now, the next one I see...
about the marijuana after a Breach article.
Well, yeah, because there was a lot of ignorance.
Off track have we gotten?
This is not off track if you think about it.
Snowplows are an issue on our streets today.
Is he high?
When you think about it,
if so, it's relevant.
There's an ignorance factor, okay? Do you remember? Okay, I'll take it back to a way that you'll probably understand a lot better. There was a day when a person could stand in a courtroom and say to a judge, this person can whistle into a telephone and launch a nuclear missile, and people believed it.
Baby, can you give me some vodka and 2 ice cubes, please?
Kevin you know that story.
Okay, let's continue on a bit because I think.
All right, I'm gonna blast through these next ones. I'm gonna hit the next couple things here. I'm gonna hit the vulnerability of the week so that we can address the big elephant in the room this week that we have on the show notes. Which is,
I'm hoping that Charles is talking to his wife and not his daughter, because I just see this whole picture of Simone going to the.
Sorry about that.
I need it. Off to the kitchen to get some vodka and some ice, and then toddling back, and being all awkward like babies are. It's that'd be funny. But anyway,
I like Daddy's adult juice.
It's just being old.
I give you the bottle. Now you give me the bottle.
All right.
Being older than all you people, I guess, is putting me at a disadvantage.
All right. So next up on the breach report, firms fined $1 million in total. This is in total because there are 2 different installments that they have to make for Sing Health data security breach. So last year in July, 1.5 million patients in the Singapore health system or health services system were compromised and leaked out in a security breach. That firm now is being charged $250,000, and who else is also, and the public health care sector is getting slapped with a $750,000 fine, which to this day is the largest that the Singapore who was it, the country has dished out for cybersecurity crimes. So now they're getting some big more fines, especially after last year where we saw the institution of GDPR, which they are not under, and then also the year before that we had, or no, last year was when the Equifax fines came out. So now there's a more inherent financial risk to being breached. So now companies are hopefully going to see that message. You can read up more on that. Basically, all PII was owned through a database, and then it was exfiltrated out. And it was not a good time for Singapore at that point. A person that I have been following on Twitter found another bug in India. I don't know what this guy's thing with India is, but he found a ton. He's found over the past 2 years a ton of bugs on Indian websites, specifically in the government sector. He goes by F Society on Twitter and or Elliot Alderson. He's a French researcher, and he found a way to just input text files onto staging of the Prime Minister's website.
Wasn't he called Elliot Anderson or something like that?
Alderson. Nope.
No. I mean, in the news article, people were calling him Elliot Anderson.
All right.
And people were like, "It's Alderson."
But
I kind of no, it's Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
God. I kind of assume that a lot of India is kind of like an ocean that vomits out fish. Ever since I think this is a PostgreSQL database that was exposed to the world a while back.
Yep.
Wasn't there a gigantic database filled with apparently a bunch of phone recordings of various civilians in India?
Well, there was that, and then there was also so in India they have this like ID system. So our own like personal ID system. So when you get your driver's license and stuff like that, in India there's not that got breached.
I heard about that one.
Elliot or F Society also found that as well, and he's gotten real comfortable just talking straight up to these guys like, hey, you guys are messing up again. He has contacted them, the Prime Minister's his team directly, and is now working with them to fix the issue. So like he says,
that sounds dangerous.
Yeah, like he said in his tweet, I had a nice chat with Narenda Modi and his team. They will take the appropriate measures to solve this issue. And he was basically just uploading a text file via their API, and then it showed up on their website.
So just so I can understand the dynamics here, did he get the okay first to do this, or did he breach a website and after the fact, a government website in India, and after the fact say, "Oh, hey, you have a problem," and they did not go after him?
Yeah, same difference.
Well, that's a gigantic difference, because I've seen so many freaking prosecutions for the latter.
I don't know how he's able to how he's able to do this, and it hasn't been like prosecuted but he's for one thing, he's in another country. He is French by nationality.
True.
So I'm not sure what the whole dynamic is there. All I have seen from his Twitter is that anytime he's researching something, he's researching that. I don't know if there's some agreement that he has or if there's some sort of freelancing that he's doing for the government of India.
Okay.
But
I think we
I
talked about the difference between a researcher and a hacker in one of the very earlier podcasts. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, they would have to have some agreement, India and France, to prosecute and send this guy to India to face charges. I don't know if they have an agreement.
Yeah, and the fact that most of the vulnerabilities and breaches that I've seen him find have been he has found them and immediately contacted them to say, hey, this is what's going on. They fix it, then he publicizes it, and then if they don't fix it, he's like, okay, now it's like, all right, now you guys got to do this. But
well, if you don't fix it, they publicize it and then they fix it anyway.
yes, exactly. So that's usually his MO.
Okay.
So another one bites the dust. I definitely would go look through all of his stuff from the past year just because it's some really fun stuff.
I would definitely call that responsible disclosure. That sounds pretty much verbatim what you would call it.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, so, we consider responsible. It's just legal types, lawyery types. They have a very different outlook, and it's. I'm just shocked. I'm not shocked at the way they acted. I'm just shocked. Kudos to India. Kudos to India.
Yeah,
For
I'll
the
DM
further
him to
way they
see
took
what's
it.
going on.
For just this, yeah.
Yeah. I'll DM him later tonight and see if I can get a response from him.
Okay.
Just like how
Yeah.
how are you doing this? Like, do you have an agreement or something? It doesn't need to be specific. Just yes, no.
Yeah. I mean, if he doesn't, and they still did this, great.
Yep. All right. More with these long-term breaches. 4-month breach of benefit mail impacts 100,000 plan members. So benefit mail is Centerstone Insurance and Financial Services email accounts that were breached and were attacked and were being compromised for months. So the actual figure is 111,589 consumers that their personal data was potentially breached during a months-long phishing attack. Real slow and gun there, which is fun. And as this is a health insurance company that had been breached, they are under HIPAA, so they get to deal with all of that fun jazz. And finally, we have more fines. Singapore imposes $740,000 in fines over the major security attack. This is a follow-up to the same one as before, and it was in the wrong spot. It was supposed to be way before. All right.
So cyber insurance companies are making a killing.
Yeah.
I just read of a new. It's being reported as a breach, probably a little significant. To add to it, if you finish the list.
Yep.
The Oklahoma Security Commission apparently had decades worth of FBI investigatory information that was actively in use, updated with who they're investigating and the like, publicly exposed. And it wasn't until I don't think it's actually stated who found it and brought it to their attention. It's being reported either as a breach on Newsweek, or other people are saying it was just publicly exposed. It's not clear who actually saw the information other than researchers. But as we all know, publicly exposed scraping, someone out there has it.
Yeah. Definitely go and take a look at that as well.
Oh my God. There was stuff from the going back to the 80s.
Yeah. A breach back to the 80s. Well, I mean, if you've got anything from storage with the FBI, it's gonna be literally everything, especially if they're trying to digitize old records. So all right, I will add this to the show notes right meow, so that
I was on mute there, but remember something pretty large happened with the FBI in Oklahoma in the 90s.
Yeah.
Would you like to elaborate for the
So the
people that
Oklahoma
weren't there.
federal bombing.
We're building in
Timothy
Oklahoma
McVeigh.
bombed.
Okay.
Timothy McVeigh bombed the Oklahoma. I think it was Oklahoma City Federal
Yeah,
building.
It was the name of it was the Murrah Federal Building.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. I would wonder if they would have recordings about that investigation. That would be super interesting.
Hey, Ricky, you mentioned about cyber insurance. There was actually an interesting article I read that talked about the NotPetya attack that happened last year, I believe it was, or the end of the year before.
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago, yeah. So apparently, one of the companies tried to get a insurance claim to pay out under that, and the insurance company was trying to fight them, saying it was an act of war. Because most insurance companies do not cover acts of war, acts of like God or any kind of. There's a lot of general catch-all phrases, things that are outside of someone's control.
Yeah, so the reason that they were, because I remember seeing that article. I don't know if we talked about it last week or if there was
It came out Thursday, so it was after.
Yeah, because I think I remember seeing it on Twitter last week from one of you guys. Yeah, so the reason why they couldn't get the claim was because it originated from Russia, from what the investigation found.
They say. That's the attribution, but it's not backed by anything.
Yeah, that's what my thought was. I'm like, this is like the easiest get out of having to pay out a company jail-free card.
They're gonna get sued for it, and they're gonna win.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's another data breach that I see Troy Hunt talking about. It's not clear the source of it, but let's see here the size of it. 773 million records, labeled collection number 1, circulating around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that. I was trying to stay off Twitter. I was notified of it, but I was not seeing that. We'll have, since it was something that was so recent today.
Here we go. Collection number 1. Set of email addresses and passwords totaling 2.7 billion rows.
That's a lot.
Total, there are 1.16 billion unique combinations of email addresses and passwords. This is when treating passwords as case sensitive, but email not as case sensitive. The unique emails totaled 772 million, and there are 21 million unique passwords across them. Oh my god.
That is what you call the mother load.
Let us think. Across 1.16 billion email addresses, there was 21 million unique passwords.
How much you want to bet that's a conglomerate dump? That's probably from several dumps put together.
It's also possible that an enormous amount of information were junk signups, spammers, and the like.
That too, yeah. Or there's a lot of bad records in there that are just being added there to, I guess, pad the data.
Flesh it out, yeah.
Yeah.
I could see someone doing that. All right. And that is it for the breach report. I'm going to work with Israel for next week on getting a fuller or a more comprehensive view on that last one, because that's big. And I'm sad that I missed that this week.
I don't think a lot. Yeah, I don't think a lot of details still have emerged on that one.
Right, which is why
it's on your end.
Yeah, so which is why this week I'll keep an eye on it. I'll probably I'll
good job, bro.
I'll try DMing Troy again. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, he's almost impossible to get responses from.
I've got ways.
Why would you want to get information from Troy Cunt? I'm just going to say that right now.
All right.
The little bitch went to my tweet. I used the virtue signal and I spelled it wrong, and the little bitch writes up about it. Dude, there's certain people you just shouldn't have at a conference. They just virtue signal. And actually, the same dude who did this, he was stalking a friend of mine, so fuck him. Yeah, bastard. Sorry, I'm a little rage prone.
All right. One more thing before we can get to the DerbyCon point this week, as that's probably the biggest part of the podcast today, and I'm trying to keep everything as fast as possible. All right. The vulnerability of the week is a lot of vulnerabilities can't even talk today. 7,890 of the 21,621 physical security systems with known high security vulnerabilities at a smart building are at risk. And I couldn't get more information on this because this was released at a conference, and this web blogger, the conference was, where is it? S4X19. Has any of you guys heard of this conference before? Because this is the first time I've heard of it.
No, I haven't.
That's that the one Robert Graham's talking about?
Unsure.
Because if so, that's also never heard about it before. Robert Graham yesterday.
Yeah. So apparently what these engineers at Forescout developed a proof of concept malware for smart buildings to demonstrate why it is urgent for security leaders to address vulnerabilities in building automation systems. So they basically took their malware that they customized for IoT and automation devices within a smart building, deployed it, and had essentially the entire first level of a building compromised within, I don't think they had a metric on how long it took them to get it, but it was very quick and it was not hard to get through that. And they were doing everything from cross-site scripting to just basic buffer overflow. It just went, your basic malware just took over an entire building's automation. And if you realize the scope of that, think of how many devices are on the first level of this building, which is 21,621 devices that were found with high vulnerabilities. Think of how much bandwidth you have to then take down the rest of the network of an entire building, which in this case is schools and hospitals.
How many of that? I didn't read this article. I wasn't hip to this. I wonder how many of these IoT devices was on the internal network, or were they on a separate? I'm sure it was on the internal network, but I don't see evidence of that in the article that I'm reading.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was within the internal network. It was. I will be following up on this later, as I found this the day it came out, which was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for the presentation slides to come out, or for the talk to come out with that. But
maybe Adrian recorded it.
No. No. I found the con. I've got it bookmarked in my to-do list.
Because some of these people speak at multiple conferences, and I'll record. I think there was one year I recorded Chris Silver's talk 3 or 4 times. I think it takes a little bit each time, and Dave, a lot of times his talks. Well, I guess I only majorly record him maybe a few times a year, but his talk sometimes he might start with one theme and then changes every time he gives a talk. But by a year later, even though he may have started as one talk, it's a different talk. But at that point,
yeah, he's like a comedian that way. Like tweaks it and it flows. And
who's a comedian?
Dave.
No, he's not a comedian. I mean, the way he shapes his talks is like what a comedian would do.
Yeah, he does presentations, I suppose, in some ways like a comedian does a set, where he changes it up each time. It might be a year later, he's ready for a new special.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, it's just a little hot in here.
Yeah,
that's that vodka.
That's the vodka, man. That ice ain't gonna help. It helps it go down. Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
But just to reiterate and kind of summarize, Forescout, researchers found high vulnerabilities, allowing remote attackers to execute arbitrary code on the target device, enabled by vendors' use of hard-coded keys or the ability to exploit a buffer overflow. They also mention later cross-site scripting. So these are all kind of your basic pen testing attacks that you want to use and have at your disposal. And they were also using Shodan and Census. So that's vulnerability of the week. Back to you, Adrian, for the rest of the show.
All right.
I'm done sharing my screen.
I'll start with just a second. I'm reading some shit that induces rage in me. Someone says he doesn't care about being called a virtue signaler. You don't accomplish anything. You're just a creepy little bastard that counts women at conferences. That is
Oh
so.
my God.
Going around and counting the women at a conference.
Counting
What?
them? Counting women?
Counting? What, like sheep?
Yes,
He's
you'll go around
looking
each
for HBO.
room and count the number of women in it,
Wow.
so he can report.
Dude, DEF CON 1 or 2, I forget which one it was, but there was somebody that did try to count the amount of women in the DEF CON. I mean, this is DEF CON 1 or 2, like early years. And there was a guy going around basically counting. It was like, there was like no women here. Oh no, there's like 2. No, 3. Oh, but that one's the staff. Okay, never mind. That's legitimate.
Oh, this is the most repulsive thing. Please, guys, get out of your damn comfort zone and take a chance and speak up to others. Sometimes a chance, Evas, you misspelled that, who disagree with you. Like, the worst hate you get is nowhere near what any woman, underrepresented person gets just for speaking up. Dude, everybody gets shit. What is it? This guy is repugnant. Oh, anyway, I'm raging about shit. Dude, all right, Rubicon is dead. Hopefully it's dying this year. This is the last year we're going to be doing it.
Yeah.
I can't answer a lot of questions because I know things internally, but a lot of shit apparently got leaked and got posted online because pretty much everything that went down was on Twitter. Twitter's a shit place to actually, read threads and find out what's going on. But it looks like a whole bunch of people have mostly got most of the facts together. There's a bunch of posts that have been made. Like Gateway Pundit, which some people will label a far right site. It's not. I don't know if it's that far right. It was written by this article was written by a lady who was a Bernie bro at one time. I guess you can't call a woman a Bernie bro, can you? And then she went on to be a Trump supporter, so she gets labeled far right. But I'm not sure how far right she is.
Do you notice how many people get? I mean, I'm not on the right.
Yes, you can is right.
How many people get labeled far right? I have no idea what that even means anymore.
Everyone who's not a communist.
Yeah, is it everybody to the left of Bernie Sanders is far right?
Everyone to the left of right to the right of Stalin.
Is John Kasich the only person on the right who's not far right?
I don't know.
So if the politician is dead or out of office and he or she was conservative, they're not on the far right. Other than that, yes.
Thinking about people like this guy, I was mentioning this a second ago. He will ass kiss the most hate-filled people in the world just to get social approval. And he just acts so creepy. Oh, this guy. No wonder that's a good reason to block him. Anyway, other people have
Don't
done
let that dude affect you too much, bro.
Tim Pool.
Yeah.
I think he saw my tweet because he used the same misspelling I did deliberately. I didn't use misspelling deliberately. I just happened to double type a key. Oh, this is a dude I don't want in any conflict because he just creeps me the fuck out. Mundane Matt also did a video, and Adam Morgan did a video. I know you all didn't like some of the things of Tim Pool's video. Monday's back seemed mostly okay. I think everybody misses a few points because I think Adam got a few dates and such wrong and when things happen. But generally, I don't think they're necessarily too far off the videos.
Yeah,
Didn't Adam Morgan?
Tim Pool's thing wasn't necessarily what he said. I think it's in general. He's a tech-savvy journalist that likes to, claim the hacker scene.
Yeah, he wants to claim the mantle of hacker without having actually done things that we hackers do.
Yes.
I mean, you know what? It goes to the old school connotation of what really makes a hacker. Because you pop boxes, does that make you a hacker?
Well, I know he
Possibly
knows.
a cracker does.
He used to be more on the scene back in the day because I know he's friends with a few hacker types who are legit hacker types completely who come to various conferences I go to and are good guys. So I'm assuming he did more in that scene when he was younger, and then he went full time, more journalism stuff. Though he used to do a lot of on-the-ground journalism, anymore I see mostly just commentary from him, which I guess is a lot cheaper to do and a lot easier to do than going out to every protest. Not to mention, this guy's been, physically threatened at protests before.
You mean you're talking something with Tim Pool, right?
Yes.
We're talking about Tim Pool, yes.
I liked when he was like with Vice, and he was going to like places around the world, not necessarily creeping protests.
But
I talked with him briefly about his tenure at Vice. Several years ago, besides Las Vegas, stumbled into him. He wasn't really hard to miss. He was the one person with a microphone and a person next to him with a camera asking to interview people left and right.
Yeah.
He didn't interview me, but he just had a penchant for B-Sides Las Vegas.
Okay, he did the same to a lot of people at DEF CON 2017. That's when we were going to room together but couldn't decide on a location.
You and Tim Pool?
Yeah.
Okay.
He I don't think he's a bad guy at all. I don't think I'm glad he was on this issue. I think he put some amplification to people that aren't in our community. But again, it's the claiming of the mantle. Jack has, a good point. What makes a hacker? Yada yada yada. That can be discussed and deliberated. But he did, he did violate some rules at DEF CON. He tried to interview. He did end up getting an interview with somebody in a media-friendly room, but people at DEF CON do not want cameras or anything around them.
There's a lot of people taking cell phone camera pictures these days, unfortunately.
You're right, but if they get caught, they're ousted. The goons will take you out if you're caught taking photos.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a press pass badge that DEF CON issued.
Yeah, no, but not they're not allowed to do it in the general population.
Okay.
There's specific areas for that.
Yeah, right. Issue about that. We do have specific press passes, so people know they're talking to press. So if Tim Pool comes to DerbyCon, for example, he'll get a certain color. Like I think we were using yellow in the past.
Yeah, I hadn't mentioned what he said though about his time at Vice. So he went on about that.
We talked to he interviewed Kim.com, I think, with Vice, is what I know him for.
So I don't know how much of what he said was believable, but he said that shortly after he was hired in Vice, he was taken to a meeting with a bunch of other journalists for Vice, where he and everyone else were told, millennials these days are progressive, and we expect your stories to reflect that. And he said he publicly refused that. And he bragged about how Vice couldn't fire him until the terms of his contract expired.
Okay.
And
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to stop your story, dude. I'm sorry. I interrupted.
That's fine. That's his whole thing at Vice, and he also went on. He did expand a little bit more about the people saying millennials these days are progressive, and we figured right to that effect. He claimed one of the people who said that was some big name Democratic donor. I don't know how much of what he says to believe, because following his YouTube videos after the fact, he tends to say a lot of very bombastic things, so a lot of which can be speculation or exaggeration. So I really don't know how much of what he says is actually based in fact versus his imagination.
Well, I could believe that a publication would say, this is our public voice or our public slant, or
Yes, it's the big name Democratic donor that really made me think.
Your political slant is going to be different than if you're writing for the New Republic.
I don't know that it was. You remember their founding and how they started out. Shane Smith just went very hard left. Remember who's that Gavin guy?
Gavin McInnes?
Oh God.
That guy. He co-founded it with Shane Smith. So early on, they were nothing like they are now. So Maybe it was a Democratic vote, some big donator. But Shane Smith did go really hard left. So it might have been just the direction of the company.
I typically do put a lot into the mantra "follow the money." So
Sure.
I'm not completely disregarding what he says. I think it is worth people looking into the owners of media outlets to determine, why they say what they say. But in terms of specifics, if it was really Steyer, or how you pronounce his name, Tom Steyer.
Yeah,
I don't know, and
Shane Smith has a couple of really good podcasts with Joe Rogan. When I say really good, I mean insightful. Insightful as to who he is and what he's about.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. I finished my bit on Tim Pool. That's all I really know with the guy. That one interaction and his YouTube videos occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally.
I can only sound like so much conspiracy rhetoric.
Yeah, Vice kind of went downhill after Gavin McInnes left or got kicked out, or however you want to say it, or forced to leave.
there was a parting of the ways.
And Gavin McInnes is probably a little bit too. He can't be considered a super serious journalist because he trolls a little too much. But I'd rather have a beer with him.
Yeah, I've watched some of his videos only because I've been directed by others too, and I saw a lot of comedy in there. I happened across Vic Berger's. You guys know who Vic Berger is, I assume.
The name sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
So he makes videos of prominent people that are on, I guess, the right. And what he does is take clips of them out of context and mashes them together. So, the thing he put together a couple of videos on Gavin. Gavin recently posted it to his YouTube channel. So I first, watched those Vic Berger ones, and I'm like, holy cow, this dude, he's just. Gavin is somebody that is he seems like a vile racist calling for violence. And then I watched Gavin's video on what that was all about, the context behind it, and I'm like, oh, all right, this guy Vic Berger just seems like a crazy dude. So if you have a chance, if you can stand, Gavin, and you want to learn more, he's got a YouTube channel, and those Vic Berger things, explanations are on there. It's pretty funny. But back to DerbyCon, huh? Jesus.
Yeah, well, all the information's out there. I don't know how much I can say because I'm actually, involved directly. But egads, people bad mouthing and saying this happened, that happened. You don't know what happened. You know someone else reported something that happened. The only people that really know much of what's going on are the staff and volunteers. So I see people shit talking. I'm like, you don't know what the fuck happened.
Exactly.
Well, I mean,
there's some of us in the know on the side. I think it's important to point out that there have been and will be shitty people that show up to conferences, both shitty men and shitty people looking to enhance their career by being a mouthpiece of disgruntlement. And I think, there have been probably actions at DerbyCon that were very bad. I don't know that they happened at the conference. They may have happened in other places, hotels, hotel lobby bars, shit like that.
Well, I would, in those cases, this is a standard thing that I've seen conflated all over the place. That someone is behaving badly outside of the conference venue, like outside of, in this case, the rooms that DerbyCon is renting. Yeah. And then people try to say, well, this is on the con. And it literally, I find that I'm trying to even think of it's disingenuous to say DerbyCon is responsible for everyone's behavior in Sway Bar at the hotel or down at 4th Street Live or all this other stuff. You know, that because
Right.
just because someone has come into Louisville to attend DerbyCon, and now something, either they're the perpetrator or they're the victim, and this happened, you know, someplace else other than the con itself, all of a sudden the con is responsible. That does not logically follow to me.
Now, does it follow that if that person is reported, let's say there's witnesses, it's reported they did roofie someone, they did do something at Louisville, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, is it the responsibility of the conference to disinvite? And I think they have in the past disinvite people. You know, somebody that's a bad actor, say, hey, you
Dude, I
know,
want to disinvite more people. I want to form a new conference, and it's going to be much smaller. But this idea of including everybody, no. If you include some people, they will exclude others. Like I had some people worried about my exclusionary behavior because I offended people with some of my political tweets. Fuck
So-
you. You just said you wanted to exclude me because I wasn't inclusive enough. You know how hypocritical that is. And I don't think my political beliefs are all that wild in modern day standards.
I think
I
the
wanted to
whole
just
word
briefly
behind
answer Ricky's
Oh, I'm sorry.
question here. So when you say, I have a question in return to clarify. When you say some act was reported, are you saying reported to the security at the conference, the volunteer security, or reported to the police?
Reported to, so agreed that in some instances the police would be the right way. And then that police report could be given to the conference organizers to know that this person is a bad actor and shouldn't be invited back. But yeah, there could be instances of like somebody grabbing someone's ass, or like both Adrian and I experienced, and I'm sure a lot of men have experienced this at cons, a woman grabbing your dick.
Yes.
We wouldn't complain about it.
Well,
there's a different woman who's come to some conferences who used to get drunk off her ass, sexually molest men, but she would constantly complain about how hard it was for her as a woman, and complain about sexual harassment, but she'd do it to the guys.
Yeah.
Well, she lacks a certain amount of self-awareness then.
That's never happened to me in or out of a conference, so I'm gonna
Sorry, man.
details.
I don't know what to tell you one way or the other because
I was gonna say I haven't experienced what Ricky or Adrian have at conferences, but then I think that's generally because I tend to have a rather badass vibe at conferences with the tech test and everything.
And I know I look like a big cuddly teddy bear.
Yeah. I did. There was one
think I
time,
put up a
although it was
cuddly
consensual,
teddy bear
Adrian sat on my lap at like before DerbyCon.
Oh, I did, yeah.
Oh my!
Well, Adrian is a really big boy, and I could feel my femurs flex. That's all I'm gonna say.
Sorry.
So where I was going with all that is, you know, if somebody is reported, it's not up to the con to do an investigation, I don't think.
No.
Sometimes it's he said, she said, and what do you do in those cases? You do the best you can. You know, you try to settle both sides, but if there is something that's obvious or was witnessed, you know, potentially then you disinvite that person from future conferences. In the realm of like me getting my dick grabbed at a con during one of the after parties that was put on by the conference, I wasn't scared. I didn't, you know, it was a bit odd, but I wasn't freaked out. I wasn't scared. I didn't think she was gonna, you know, track me down afterwards.
Yeah, there's a bit of a difference there because generally you can ultimately you can most of the time, you know, get yourself away from a woman. She's not like she's unlikely to be physically superior to you. At the same time, all guys who were absolutely not physical with a woman, if a woman assaults them, he'll keep that going just because he doesn't want to do anything to hurt her. Some guys are that much, you know. If a woman's doing something I don't want, I have no problem pushing her away from me. But some guys aren't like that.
Well, also there's the kind of inherent imbalance in, I don't know, relative defensive capability that like I'm not going to say all men, but most men are larger and stronger and more physically able to defend themselves than most women. We do not necessarily feel, like when some of these things are happening, it's a problem to be dealt with, but it's not physically threatening.
Well, now I know of only one woman who can pick me up, and I am much bigger than her, and it is scary. So, aside from that,
so I think these are all good points. That these are things that we can agree that there are disadvantages if a single woman attends a con like DerbyCon and there's some shitty guys there. That we're not necessarily afraid. Men aren't afraid of, the same things a woman might be, let's say, leaving the con at night after the Vanilla Ice party by herself to a hotel that's a block down the street. That's got to be scary and something we don't have to deal with.
That's not necessarily true, because if I remember statistically, men are more likely to be murdered.
I'm gonna call some real fucking bullshit on that, because
I'm talking about
if you want to talk about crime
violence.
statistics in downtown Louisville, it comes down to this. I've only had one friend attempt to break the record as far as robberies at 4th Street Live, and he was caught because his dumbass kept going up and down the same fucking alley.
No, let me clarify. I'm not talking about violence from men in a robbery or a murder. I mean sexual assault from a woman. That's what I'm talking about. Walking home alone, or walking back to your motel room after a drunken, a band and drinks were handed out and shit like that. Of course, men have to deal with physical violence more often than women. I'm not afraid of that.
It's pretty silly. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, well, what I was gonna say is just, like to chime in on the DerbyCon stuff. For me personally, I am saddened by what happened, like just it ending. And I understand why the staff wants to end it, because it's becoming more of a liability than even fun anymore. So I get that. It's just like, the question is now, in the future, when we go to different cons, how do we prevent or attempt to prevent something like this from really happening again? And the reason I asked that question, because from what I looked at it and from what I've read, and from what I know for actually being at, like I said, the mental health village, I felt that the staff could they did all they could really do, and they tried to do the best that they could with the situation that they were faced with.
Didn't you watch the Gillette commercial?
No, I didn't watch the Gillette.
Oh, no, not this.
No,
no, he's asking what we could do. I get it. I think you guys did the best you could as well.
Yeah, it just for everything they could do, and then try to make the make the person who was upset, like, try to calm them down and try to make them a little bit more relaxed in the situation. And I get it. We can't tell people how to react. I understand that, but it's just like, it was just so much for somebody who thought, and maybe they thought whoever wrote the I guess supposed joke or whatever, they thought they were doing something funny. But you got to realize, like, we're in a time where a lot of people it's highly sensitive than how things used to be. And now we're to a point now, it's just like, how do you prevent this from happening at a con today? And I'm not wishing anything crazy on ShmooCon. We go to ShmooCon, and then you hear the same thing. Oh my God, he's wearing a red shirt. And the red shirt takes me back to a place where I was going through something, just something simple as that. And the next thing we have issues like what we had at DerbyCon.
That's the thing that worries.
No,
and it's
I
not going to be
understand
the
it's not the
last.
first.
It's the
Yeah.
first big major conference to be taken down by this social outrage, I
Right.
think.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to stop with DerbyCon. It was not unique, DerbyCon, outside. Would you say so, Adrian? You've probably been
It's
to more
happened to a few other
conferences.
cons. That Pundway audit. Someone's apparently been keeping a list of different SJW things that have been fucking up various tech conferences. Not just it seems to be mostly InfoSec, but there's also some like developer conferences in there that they list.
Mhm.
They posted a copy of it in that Gateway Pundit thing,
Mhm.
and it's more than just. But DerbyCon is the first one that I think has kind of folded because of it. I'm trying to look up a damn a C.S. Lewis quote for you.
Now,
Not every con that this happens to gets taken down for the same way, so to speak. It's
Now-
go ahead.
No,
True.
I apologize.
And-
Go ahead.
How
No,
many
you
of
were in
them
the middle
are
of your
owned-
thing.
How many of them are owned by a guy who also owns two companies and has that
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I wish Skydog Con
Lot.
would come back. Skydog Con was a lot of fun. It was a lot smaller. I think the maximum they ever had. I don't even think they topped 300. But it was a hell of a lot of fun.
I
So-
get that. I hope Scott does come back.
DerbyCon in the early days was more fun.
Smaller cons are fun ways that bigger cons can't be. That's
Oh, by the way,
partly the nature of the game.
I got
So when we start our new con, what set the limit to 300 or something.
Yeah.
So it's a fun-sized con.
Because when here's the thing, my first DerbyCon was DerbyCon 4. Okay, now I went back and watched the vids of DerbyCon 1, 2, and 3, and I was like, oh my god, and they looked like they was even more fun than what 4 was.
Yep.
And then like 4, I mean, I had a blast. I said, man, I got to go to this every year, and that's when I'm 5, 6, 7, 8, and now, of course, 9. But just looking at how it used to be, and like I said, I'm not saying things didn't happen at cons then, but it's just like it just seemed like it was just more with DerbyCon. I felt more like a family.
That's what it was all about.
And
Yeah.
My first was DerbyCon 2, and I felt the same way. It was like, holy shit, there are a lot of cool people here, and it does.
Right.
Everybody's. I get the hugging may not be appropriate now, but everybody was hugging. It didn't feel forced though to me.
No,
it wasn't people coming up and like just grabbing you. It was people wearing free hug buttons and T-shirts and shit like that, and weird costumes and all of that. It was super cool. The bigger it got, the more corporate it got, and the harder to move around it got. All that.
Bigger it got, the more money it costs, the more sponsors you need, the more corporate it gets.
Yep.
And I felt, and when the announcement was made, I felt so bad for the team, for the organizers. That's what I forget all this extra stuff with people pointing fingers. I felt bad for the organizers, the people who really put a hard time and effort into keeping this con going, which I'm pretty sure wasn't easy, and I really felt for them. Because
I feel bad for Dave and Dave's wife. And all the organizers, but
I do.
Damn. What an amazing idea you guys had for this con.
I remember
when
before DerbyCon was DerbyCon, what Dave and Martin and all the other organizers, because I was really big into the HackerCon scene then. I was in a relationship where she and I basically half the time we were meeting, it was long distance, and half the time we were meeting up at HackerCons, usually around the Midwest. But we'd also go to like Shmoo and DEF CON and stuff. And I was aware that there were these people who were going around and quietly asking, what do you think makes a HackerCon and InfoSecCon great? And it was sort of, there was this rumor, this buzz that something was in the mix. And then they announced, tickets are available for DerbyCon 1, and here is what it's like. And you could see where they took like the shared track one, single track for the first day, and splitting up the multi-tracks from ShmooCon, and they took ideas from a lot of other mid-sized and small-sized hacker cons, and everything was just number one and on point. And
Right.
DerbyCon 1 was phenomenal. It was amazing. It was, I wish every HackerCon was like that.
I feel like we're mourning DerbyCon, and kind of laying down at this point.
Oh, you feel the same way? Oh my god!
I'd like to jump in
feel
here
that.
real quick
Yeah,
because we're talking about stuff of like what made DerbyCon great and what what we're kind of losing from it. And this past year was my first DerbyCon, my first HackerCon ever was DerbyCon last year.
Thanks to Nick.
And
Same here.
yeah.
Glad you made it out, man.
And I had a great time. The thing that I am most worried about is people that are my age, which gets made fun of all the time as I'm like 4 or 5 or whatever. But people that are coming out of college looking for a career, or they're looking to get into InfoSec, that was a main hub of a spot that you can go to. You would go to, we were talking about going to DerbyCon. We were talking about going to DEF CON when I was running a security group at my university. The thing is that was more for us to get a foothold to start meeting people and to actually get into industry so that we could then network out that way. Now that we don't have that, local groups are going to have to step up. And for people that are looking to get into it, whether you're just out of college or in college, or you're trying to look for a career change, go to local cons. I've found one that's near me, super fun. But the big cons are great. Find a local meetup. I know Charles goes to Nova Hackers every what is it, like monthly?
Yes, every month.
Every month. I go to SecKC every month. There's a lot more of these cons out there to say that even though we're losing one, there are more out there that
you got to start filtering people. You have to start not including some people. You got it. There's some people you should recognize that are just going to be destructive. They're going to whine and virtue signal. But let me. Sorry to interrupt you, man. But there's a quote I really want to read. Do you all know who C.S. Lewis is?
Yeah. Yes.
He wrote Lord of the Rings, right?
No.
No.
I know.
Jesus
Tolkien
Christ.
was a friend of C.S. Lewis. They were like buddies.
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis wrote various, I guess, Christian knowledge, or what would the term be?
Christian apologetics.
He wrote some of that, but he also wrote things that were
allegory.
Allegory. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
But here's a quote that I dearly love. Of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victim may be the most oppressive. It may be better to live under robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep. His cupidity, which, by the way, I believe that means greed, may at some point be sated. But those who torment us for our own good will torment us without end, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience. C.S. Lewis.
Where
I love that quote.
Does it say where that's from? Because I've probably read that book.
I'll look it up for you. I don't remember where the quote's from exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I might have posted that
I've only read
5 or 6 times in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But I will say this. I wanted to piggyback off of what Cap was saying just a second ago. It's a big loss of a hub. But again, and this is a time where we all step up and gather and actually, really help shift this culture. DerbyCon was a game changer. We know that. And now there's more game changers. There's Security Illusions podcast, and there's, like I said, last by BSD Bandit, there's local B-sides. Let's all chip in here and just, make this better again, help, figure out ways to make the conference safer again. I mean, let's chip in and fix this problem because
I would have a policy of no male feminists at any conference because they're very rapey individuals. And if you want proof of that, there's some great videos out there. If you Google search male feminist and rapist, holy shit.
Oh yeah, the incidents of sex offenders in the male feminist community. Oh my God.
But you know what? And I want to say this. Let's get back to hacking shit. It's we got a whole thing. We got cloud. We got all of cloud to mess with. You got all of cloud. You have all different programming languages coming out. We got the Docker bandits, Cap. I mean, there's so
dirty
many
cows.
Yes. We'll
go with dirty cows.
There's so many different things out there. I've been a busy bee just trying to get things going with several different casts, of course. Another one coming up. But also, like I said, going to ShmooCon, Nova Hackers, we're putting on ShmooCon epilogues the day after ShmooCon. So those who are left after ShmooCon, they can come on down to ShmooCon epilogues. We got things rolling on that end. I mean, here's a time where, we're acting like the deaf people of DerbyCon members have died, and they're not dead. It's just that the conference closed. You're still gonna see a lot of these people at different conferences. You're gonna see Dave.
That may not be true.
Stop talking as if the conference is already dead. We still have another one to go.
By the way,
let's make it the best one yet, man.
That's what I mean.
I don't think
it
it's
feels like we're
come on, let's
mourning
get some
and
life
laying
into this.
down.
Let's get some life into this.
Caprico, it's C.S. Lewis, God in the Dock, essays on theology, making of modern theology. But
it was either that one or Mere Christianity. I've read Mere Christianity.
Mike, I would love to come out to a B-Sides Cleveland.
Oh, hell yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Come out.
Come on through.
Let's get out here and, support the different groups that's coming out. And then for, like I said, with the people that are in college that are coming out, we can start putting stuff together that gets them ready, or help them to find jobs, help them to get careers, help them to get in this industry and get involved. We can't do it alone, so we gotta come at it from that standpoint.
Sure, different argument.
Yes,
for that is, Kat mentioned while he was in school in university, that he specifically called on DEF CON because of its reputation.
Right.
And we were able to get him his ticket to go.
Right.
There are other people like that maybe don't have access to a local community that's any good. I happen to have one pretty good one up here where I live. There's B-Side Cleveland, of course, but there's local groups. Some people don't have that. They don't live near a major metro. And going for like a local, 3-hour, community meetup might not be worth it. So, something like a DerbyCon, I think needs to be created from the lessons learned, over this past year,
right?
So that people have that target again. Well-meaning people that really want to learn. They want to be there because learning is what they're about. They want to see it in practice, and they're not there for some self-serving, mega horn type.
Right.
Get the most followers I can. Outrage stuff,
right.
And then people can look again to a conference, and there's certainly plenty of good conferences that people can target.
Right.
DerbyCon was just one of the most popular, especially in this region.
Right.
So again, I agree with you. Do all you can to pump up your local groups.
Yeah.
Try to go to various conferences around you, see which one may fit you. For those of you that are not in areas where that's easily available, try to get out to, something like, you guys know the best cons. I went to GurkCon, that was fine. ShmooCon was fine. Nothing on the level of at least
years, but I wish I
You know what?
probably could schedule a plane ride, but not this weekend. But yeah, ShmooCon I like. My favorite B-sides are B-sides Nashville and B-sides Cleveland. But favorite cons right now, we'll see how Circuit City Con goes because I haven't heard anything exactly from them recently, and I'm now on the outs with one of the organizers. I love Skydog Con till it quit. HackerCon is definitely one of my top favorites. This has Tampa turns out good. Shit. I'm trying to think of what on the top spots. Oh, of course, GurkCon I love. Show Me Con's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what? And I'm gonna get the ball rolling. Okay, and I'm gonna do this. And I'm just gonna use my OSINT skills and gather a list. And I'm just gonna start asking questions on Twitter. Let's hey, here's a list of cons. Tell me about them. Anybody's experience. I'm trying to get feedback from others, and try to compile a list of cons and, because I don't know where everybody lives and everything else, but, maybe try to compile a list of cons together. So as we're meeting people and they say, hey, they're in Montana. Okay, let's find the closest one to your region. This might be a good one for you to check out. And hell, like I said, I'm in the process of trying to help anybody that's really trying to do something. Hey, I might help chip in on a hotel room for you. I might help chip in on a plane ticket for you. I might help chip in on a ticket for you. If you're really trying to go and you're really trying to do something. And this is, and anybody that's watching on the stream that's never met me in person, I'm serious to the core when I say I'm always willing to help somebody. And anybody who's met me in person knows that, So, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out a way where we can keep this going, because we're the generation. It's our time now. We're the generation. It's our time to shape this culture to what it's going to look like in the future. And I think it just starts with us. So I'm choosing to start with, like I said, with more, like with podcasts, more content, more material, and actually getting out there and helping people. So that's where I'm at with everything. And I love everybody, and shout out to everybody that whether you attended DerbyCon, whether you did anything, and let's rock out for DerbyCon 9, this last one. Let's rock out together and have a good time. And this is not the Baca talking. This is just me in general.
And don't forget, we can, long after DerbyCon 9,
we can
keep the spirit of DerbyCon alive for as long as we choose to.
No, I'm just gonna say I'm not even gonna say the spirit of the DerbyCon because it will never die, as far as I'm concerned. We'll just put it like this: we're just gonna keep the spirit of hacking alive, and let's get out there and enjoy and create new stuff and have some new fun and everything else and rock out. Ow!
Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
That's where I'm at with it. Boom! And the little fairy dust from the magic guy, that he does this.
What is that to you?
Huh?
I don't know.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, bro, I'm literally about to drop off. It's time for, and I know this title precedes me. Grumpy Hackers. Oh!
Well, tell them Irongeek says hello.
I sure will. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
She missing a leg?
Bye.
Later.
Have a good one, Charles. Yeah.
I think that's it, huh? Pin a bow on this, Adrian?
I
don't have a whole much more. I got a bunch of links in the show notes. People can check out. It explains everything. I see a lot of people talking shit on Twitter who have no idea what the fuck happened, and they believe everything they fucking hear, and it fucking sickens me.
One thing that really struck me as, peculiar is Jack Daniels' Twitter feed when he was talking about DerbyCon. And I think it is interesting to note that he was mourning DerbyCon, and he was chastising a lot of his followers, or at least a lot of people, a lot of his circle, who appear to be cheering or thinking he's a good thing DerbyCon's going away, and he was chastising them, saying this is maybe the loss of a conference where people shared knowledge and try to better themselves, and that no one should be cheering that. Now, maybe I've not really seen that many people publicly cheering this. The tweets that are picturing it, I've seen maybe 20 or 30 retweets tops.
I've seen some bullshit from some people lying about shit that happened, whining about all sorts of shit. Let's face it, the woman's complaint, the main person, it was illegitimate. It was silly. It was silly. But I've seen a lot of people support it and say, oh, they're trying to blame marginalized people. These people are not marginalized. They are doing fine. They're reacting to something that they don't know about, make irrational demands and harassing other people. Here I see someone like, oh, this person's going to get a bunch of harassment because of this. They were harassing others. Like, I've been accused of attacking people online. Pretty much everybody I can think of that I've ever attacked, they've at least attacked me in some way. Even in some trivial way, but I get accused of being the attacker when I'm retaliating. Fuck that shit.
So one thing is, I don't think anyone's really talked about, which is the actual the note that Dave put up publicly. He had to have gotten some degree of retaliation to that personally.
Oh,
and so, what?
I know at least somebody like oh great, what was it? McGrew was whining about. Oh, you're not going with actual. Wait, how do you put it this way? You blame people for bringing up actual issues. The thing on the board was not an actual issue. It wasn't actually hurting you. You're just a human being.
Yeah. All I heard about that woman is that she's.
They have no actual work experience in InfoSec. They got a degree in something. And if they want someone that's hiring jobs, someone said, well, usually they want several years of experience before you give you that kind of job. And she said, and a penis. She's a hate monger. You people are supporting hate mongers. Stop it.
It's also keep in mind the possibility she may have purposely done that to sabotage or just because shit.
Yeah,
so don't necessarily assume sincerity at all costs.
Yeah, my conspiracy brain went there a couple of times and some different things.
Well, I say that
what's
because
a good
the FBI guy told me
name
that
out there. What's a good name to get some followers quickly on you, and something that's not that big of a risk. What's the risk in it? In this, and especially in 2017, or I'm sorry, earlier in the year. What's the risk there? To blasting out that type of comment when everybody's doing it on social media. You happen to be talking about a very popular conference, and people will take up that mantle. Some people jumped in and kind of defended the board right away. Those people were called, what was it? Leslie specifically,
Leslie got called
white feminist.
And then she goes and kowtows to it. And she also, Leslie, bought into the whole, the circle game. When someone was doing the circle game, obviously the circle game, because they was holding it downwards. And yeah, it wasn't below the waist, because some people say it has to be. It was down by the tummy or something. It was obviously the fucking circle game. And Leslie say, why'd you blow it? Name and shame the Nazi or some bullshit like that. Leslie, you're helping people who are causing problems. They're not actual Nazis. They're not.
Unless you know.
No, and this is the part. And this is the part that actually kills me about this. Why is it that Leslie claims to be a veteran, and yet in the Air Force they play the game the same in the Army, the same in the same in the
peer pressure is a
played it
bitch.
in high school.
No, I give a motherfucker. I'm showing y'all pictures of my friend doing it.
Leslie's the same kind of person though. She got tattoos removed. She got some kind of like Viking ruins on her. I think she's from some band she liked or something. And then she found out that someone said they were like neo-Nazi symbols because yes, they're all people who are white supremacists who have started to adopt like neo-pagan religions because, well, technically, if you're actually a white supremacist and you follow Christianity, well, you're following a religion founded by Jews. So but because
Hitler did it. Because he was into the Norse gods and shit.
Yeah, they were trying to reanimate the ancient Germanic religions.
But because some people who have unsavory views happen to use the same symbol, she's getting tattoos removed. That's like, come the fuck on.
Social circles are a weird beast. Some people tend to follow the crowd in terms of what's socially acceptable more than others. As you know, if you don't, you get sanctions. Be them maybe loss of job opportunities, loss of social shaming. It's sometimes people adapt to their environment.
You can't let people take over every fucking image out there. Like
I agree. It seems that people aggressively capitulating to neo-Nazis at all costs. It is nonsensical.
You know what the Eastern Star is? Eastern Star?
I do not.
It's basically the female version of the Masons.
Oh yeah, Order of the Eastern Star. I know them. Yeah, my grandmother.
And I remember I was going to a Christian high school, and some people kind of freaked out because my mom had the Eastern Star logo on the back of her car. I think it was. And it's like a pentagram. It's like a pentagram. Like it means a lot of different things to different people. Not to mention it's not technically a pentagram because the pentagon is rotated. But it doesn't matter. Right now, some people are freaking out on fucking Twitter about the new Slack logo looking like a swastika. If you really, 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 really use your imagination.
So just look at the amount of people who are actually giving something attention, man. If there's like 10 retweets, it's the equivalent of people saying they don't buy into the person's shit.
Yeah, that's another thing. My number of followers, I'm not nearly as high as some of the other people out there, but people when I reply to these people, I'm only giving them more ammo.
Yeah, you're elevating their stature.
Some of them so you may not have as much followers as some people, but you have legitimacy that a lot of them.
Oh, I have people who don't want me to record any place. Then again, one little bitch doesn't want me to record. He also said he would scream like a banshee if anybody was wearing a manga hat or a flag with a blue line in it. The cop lives matter, the police lives matter. You go scream like a banshee. In other words, you're going to act up for a temper tantrum like a child, and they're going to grab you and throw you out of the con, hopefully.
Well, I would say anybody who disrupts a convention like that, eject them.
But
I don't care why they're doing it. I don't care what the problem is. Other people paid good money to watch that talk or to participate in that village or whatever it is. And if you're disruptive, you're the problem. Boom, you're gone. No questions asked.
A-Sides New Albany. I have no name ideas, but I'm not sure what else. And it would be about maybe if I can get the people there, 200 people, and probably 200 or 300 people max, if I can even get that. But it would have to be something I can finance for the cheap, at some hall in Louisville. That's another problem, though. Getting people from farther away, if it's only a one-day con, is much more difficult.
I'm telling you, Adrian, let's do this shit up in Cleveland.
It's not the worst place.
Actually, there's a really great hotel for a con in the Cleveland suburbs. It was the last not a con.
That wasn't a bad venue. I liked that little hotel.
I thought that was perfect. You had the sunken little lobby where people could hang out.
I liked it. I call it little, but it wasn't really that little. It was nice.
What was the suburb?
I would have to look it up. What hotel? Just a minute.
Yeah, if you go out to the Shmoo, shit, I keep saying names. If you go out to the website, I'm sure the last one.
I'm going there now.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad. Yeah. I gotta admit, I wouldn't have it in the Louisville area just because
shit.
I get it. I get it. Understood. I was mad when Dave decided to take it out of the city of Cleveland. But you know what? Louisville's a great spot. Louisville. I'm sorry. I always say it wrong. My in-laws live there.
You gotta kind of like swallow the U.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Well,
well, Louisville's nice though because here's the reason. One of the reasons DerbyCon was so successful. Our first year we had over 1,000 people. All right, and this last year I think we included everybody, speakers, staff, and everyone about 3,000. The reason DerbyCon was so successful for a few reasons. One, Dave knows everybody. He got speakers that were ringers to begin with because I know people don't like the idea. They're like everybody who submits a talk should have an equal opportunities to speak. However, some people really want to see some of the big names. Like everybody from Paul.com is a big name, pretty much. So people will see like Kevin Mitnick. People will see those people. So you got to get a few ringers, and then you open up the general call for papers or call for presentations, and you get some more people. Because if you have a few good ringers, you'll get even better call for papers in. And I know people don't like it because it's not completely egalitarian, but people do come to see the big names. Two, Martin has been doing, before he was in InfoSec, for the longest time, he was doing stuff with audio for, I think it was bands and such. So he knew how to do that kind of production work. I have been doing video for a couple of years, and I've generally been okay at self-promoting myself as far as videos is concerned. And people know my website because it had been around since 2004, and the first DerbyCon was in 2011. And I think but another big reason, though, besides those, the people, and also Aaron's really good at organizing things. Aaron keep everything in line and get everything ordered at the right time. But besides that, I think a big thing was it was in Louisville, and Louisville is central to a lot of places. 3 hours from Nashville, 5 hours from Chicago, 2 hours from Indianapolis. I don't know, 4 or 5 hours from St. Louis. I mean,
I'm just being selfish. It was a good location. I was able to drive there, and that's pretty cool. Plus, if you get in Cleveland, you're going to have people from Chicago coming, and
maybe New York too. The New York 2600 crew used to go to Nauticon.
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious. Nauticon dying was kind of weird to me because Nauticon was, well, at one time there wasn't as many cons at the time. They used to get some pretty big names and people you wouldn't expect to show up. I think one of their downfalls was they started to split interest too much between InfoSec and digital arts or maker stuff, and it's harder to get your work to sponsor you to go when a large portion of it, I think, isn't InfoSec. That's just a guess. Well,
so Nauticon's original idea was to bridge a gap between the art community and the hacker community. And I would say being pretty close to the organizers, their downfall really was, number one, they were not good at promoting the convention. They were not good at getting the word out to get people to pre-reg. Also, repeatedly, a lot of us who were small business people told them, you need an attorney. You need a contract attorney to review all the contracts that you sign with hotels, with vendors, suppliers, whatever, because they continually got screwed on those. They kept losing money because there were gotcha clauses in these hotel contracts. So eventually they just ran out of money and they couldn't afford to do the con anymore.
Yeah, a small hotel room somewhere, or a little conference room for, maybe get a couple of them. It's not all that expensive. We've pulled it before for other organizations that I've worked with. I don't think it would be that hard to spin something up, something that had the same sort of enticement that a DerbyCon had. Adrian's right in that there's an allure around Dave Kennedy. He is a legitimate InfoSec superstar, as big a star as we have, right? Legitimate one.
Yeah, the TV networks all go to him for.
Kevin Mitnick. You guys know how I feel about him. Whatever, but yeah, pulling in like a Frank Abernathy. I don't know if he's worn out his welcome in our community, but he's always a big name for business folks. I don't know how much Kevin's words are, pulling him in. It's still, I think, some of the younger people would still get a kick out of it. But we all have connections. I have connections in, that directly relate to Dave, and Adrian, you obviously do. So there's a chance there that we might be able to pull that, and get some serious people to talk. Otherwise, you just want to make sure that you've got the best speakers, regardless of their fame. Interesting topics that people could talk about clearly. There's an issue. Adrian, you've been down to the Columbus ISSA conference.
Yeah, they usually put out pretty good conference. I had some problems. Yeah. They keep asking for more and more tracks, and there's only so many tracks I can handle, especially with my video crew. They're nice people. I'm not trying to. My video team they gave me wasn't like DerbyCon where I have the same people over and over again year after year, or maybe a few new people each year who I can quickly train. It was I got to the third or fourth person, and they didn't know the difference was between VGA and HDMI. And I had to ask, "What are you?" And I found out they're all recruiters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, they had pretty good tracks. Some of the tracks were just really lackluster. You had people that were speaking for the first time on an interesting subject and did not know how to convey the interest of that. They didn't seem passionate about what they were presenting. And that's important in a con. You want to have some interesting material, and the people that give it need to be passionate. It doesn't matter who they are. But yeah, your keynotes, you want big names. The FBI is always willing to send somebody down to talk at a security conference. Those are big names. People like to hear from the FBI for whatever reason.
That seems to be very risky to do year one.
Yeah, I know everybody wants to do this whole.
Oh, not year one. Yeah, for sure. No,
you're going to be branded very explicitly.
I know some people want to do a completely blind selection on speakers, but especially on year one, you can't do a completely blind thing because you got to get a few people people are going to want to come see.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a.
We're talking about all this on. We're still live. I don't know if we want to plan a conference live, but
we'll interesting. Talk afterwards about that particularly. I've ranted a fair amount about DerbyCon, and who knows what's going to come back and bite me in the ass. But some of you people who are acting like you're such great human beings, you're really fucking not. You're supporting victimizers. You're not helping victims. These people, crybabies is a term I've used before, and it's a very good term. But anybody else wants to say anything about DerbyCon before we leave the subject matter? Go ahead.
I just want to repeat what I said earlier, that there are some really bad actors that show up to cons. It's just a matter of how you deal with it. I thought DerbyCon, Dave explained when all this went down, how he approaches that and the code of conduct. I think it's important to take people seriously if they do report a crime and make sure that they go to the right officials. I do think that women experience intimidations at conferences sometimes. I think it's okay to acknowledge that without all of the extra bullshit that goes behind all of that. The call-out culture needs to stop. It needs to stop in our community. It needs to stop, worldwide. But, first, we've got to make a concerted effort to try to get that, out of our community. You mentioned the unblurring of somebody's face in a photo that was playing the circle game. You better be goddamn sure that person is a Nazi.
Here's what
before you ruin
someone's life potentially. Name and shame the Nazi. Why is it blood? Name and shame the Nazi. You don't know that the fuck is a Nazi. You want to publicly shame a person, probably ruin his career prospects, over playing a fucking middle school game.
Yeah, and I followed that thread when it first came out.
Anymore. The last Nazis are already dead. We have
no. Yeah, these would be neo-Nazis.
Neo-Nazi, yes.
Yeah. So, but I followed that thread, and I was amazed by how many people fell for that 4chan meme. They came up with it as a joke, and somehow it took. Now, legitimate neo-Nazis may be using that. But it came out as a joke. I followed the thread and was super surprised to see how many people were like, no, that is for sure a neo-Nazi. That is a white supremacist right there. And you go, how the fuck do you don't know this person?
I admit
This game has been along for a long time.
Out of all the names that... Oh, sorry, you go finish.
No. The last thing I'll tie up with before I stop talking is I plan to be at DerbyCon 9. I plan on having a blast. I hope that we can continue that small community effort, and not mourn it until it's over. Maybe learn lessons from it, and make something hopefully equivalent to what the early DerbyCons felt like.
I wish I could say I was at the early DerbyCons, but DerbyCon 8 was my first one. I had a blast. It was, it was a much nicer, closer a community feel than a lot of other cons I've been to, and
I felt close to you at DerbyCon 8.
Aw, well, thank you. So close to you too, and yeah, I'm sure you're gonna have a wonderful time at DerbyCon 9. I'm sure a lot of people are. I'm absolutely interested in helping. I'm absolutely interested in wanting to, use this as a learning. Everything that's happened as a learning opportunity to help bolster the... I'm not sure the right word here, survivability of other conventions. And, as Charles was meaning to say, maybe things such as, and I honestly don't know if this will work or not, maybe changing the code of conduct to explicitly state anyone who contacts the employer of any volunteer will be immediately banned for life from the convention. For any reason, any contact for an employer volunteer is a lifelong ban.
Well, I think
maybe a clause like... What?
I think you'd have to specify reasons, because
how can you determine whether or not person A was truly the person that contacted said person's employer? Because most of the time that is held confidential.
This is true.
Because the only thing they'll tell you is, hey, look, we've received a complaint about what your activities are outside of this working environment.
Well, sometimes though they tell you who was the complaint. Like, for instance, you know who David Pakman is?
Yes.
David Pakman is kind of a more left-wing video commentator on YouTube. He told a radical feminist, she was pretty nuts, who said something about, I'm not going to vote for any white men this next election. And David Pakman, who is still a leftist, said something along the lines of, that's racist or something like that, or racist and sexist. I think that I'm trying to remember all the details. And then she tried to get him fired from an adjunct faculty position.
Yeah, I listen to David Pakman. He is on the left. I agree with some of his positions, but he is anti-SJW.
Yeah, he is. He's rather deadpan in a lot of and what he does, which I wish he wasn't. If he wasn't so deadpan, I'd probably watch him a lot more often. As I really do like one of his analyses, but the deadpan
presentation leaves a lot. A lot to be desired there.
Right. Aside from that, yeah. So, and I do wonder, for the people who keep crowing on about codes of conduct, will they follow one? Will they actually acknowledge the threat to their ability to attend a convention? And the shame that comes with it, if they go ahead and try to get volunteers or the convention owner, make them suffer financial harm as a result of conduct unrelated to what happens at a convention.
Well, I think
unrelated to what they do at the convention.
my general code of conduct, what comment I would have would be something along the lines of, oh, great. I had an idea for this. I'm trying to remember how I phrased it. It was something along the lines of, don't be an asshole, don't be a prick, or whatever you do, don't be a pussy.
Team America World Police.
Yeah.
That's not. That's not in line with the Gen 2.
Don't be a dick. I think that's what it was. I think it was World Police. Don't be a dick. Don't be an asshole. Or whatever you do, don't be a pussy. I think that was.
That's not in line with the Gillette commercial, my friend.
A man can.
No. Another one came out with something. Harry's, maybe it was called.
Oh,
and they had words crossed out, like "man up." You shouldn't say "man up." You shouldn't say "grow a pair."
We didn't specify whether they were testicles or ovaries. Come on.
Yeah, right, exactly right. Man up is, I think, a perfect way to tell somebody that they're not taking the responsibility seriously. They're not being a good father, whatever. I've told people to man up before, and I feel no shame, and I'm not going to stop doing it.
So,
and I know Jack has told people to man up or cowboy up or whatever the fuck while he served, I'm sure.
The Gillette thing was freaking weird, especially some of the comments. One of the comments was some barbershop called Body Barber talking about calling Gillette anti-male SJWs and invited people to go to their barbershop. It was the weirdest thing. Just reading that thread, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone.
The whole thing's a little bit weird at first. I was on the side of like, okay, so what? Stop bullying. Yes. Stop, acting like an asshole. But the more I heard from other commentators, it kind of shifted my position on it a little bit. There was an excellent tweet that said, "We're living in an era of woke capitalism in which companies pretend to care about social justice to sell products to people who pretend to hate capitalism."
I've seen that one too. That was a good tweet.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't know. My guess is due to the extreme amount of attention Gillette got, they're probably going to get more revenue because, let's face it, attention, positive or negative, is probably going to increase their bottom line.
The other thing is Gillette is owned by Procter & Gamble, which is one of the largest corporations in the U.S.
Yeah. So Gillette
say out of Gillette. Procter & Gamble is, I think they own like Nabisco. I don't know.
Oh yeah, Procter & Gamble is not going to go away. God no.
Yeah, exactly. They're not only they're not going to go
neither
away,
will Gillette,
to be notice a boycott.
But Gillette, their Twitter mentions the week before the video, they were at 10,000. The week after, 1.something million.
So how much of that is authentic? I never really trust most brands unless you're like fucking Wendy's that are like shit talking people. How in the world do brands? I don't believe they're the real people. 10,000 real people, 100,000 real people. God no. I don't believe it.
Okay, maybe not. There was a lot of people talking about it, and there's trends that you can look up yourself for specific keywords on Twitter. That's it. So yeah, maybe they have some bots. I'm sure they've hired, and this isn't a conspiracy because it's been proven that companies hire. I'm not going to call them saboteurs, but they
hire influencers.
Hype men, yeah, hype men's a good one. They'll go into Twitter and Reddit and they'll argue kind of on the company's behalf, and then that argument is taken up and reused by other folks. They can shift conversation and negativity about something in their favor. But I think this one, just getting your name out there, everybody knows who Gillette is, but getting your name out there like that has to be a net positive in terms of revenue. But we'll watch their stock and see what. Does Gillette have its own stock, or is it all Procter & Gamble?
That I don't know.
Because Procter & Gamble, they're one of their senior execs. I think he's like like a one of the high ups talked about how that was their mission for this year, was to become a social justice company, and they're going to make this part of all of their brands. So it's not going to stop with them.
Well, we will see how well that really works for their bottom line. I'll be entirely honest. I don't think it's going to make more than a marginal difference at any rate. The only real big thing may be institutional actors. Maybe they'll get more preferential treatment from people who are not supposed to be giving discounts to this company on their loans. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe regulators will start looking the other way. That's the only thing I can really think of that might incredibly affect their bottom line, because the social justice crap is primarily an online phenomena. And how many of these consumers are particularly loyal?
Well, again, remember, I know about this stuff. I understand it, and I watched that video, and my first take was, okay, I don't know what the big deal is. That was my very first take.
The first take was just, it seemed like, oh God, this is Tumblr rhetoric. This is people trying to piss off the broader public.
I'm sure.
People review it, and I've seen the video as segments, at least in part of people review it. And I just am tired of fucking male bashing with no people talk about toxic masculinity all the time, but how much talk do you hear about toxic femininity?
I want to know. Well, I want to know what went through the minds of the Gillette marketers, though, because the key
break down the message. Break down the message.
Well, no, but a very specific part of it all. The part where the sweeping language about toxic masculinity and the like. That thing where if you talk to SJWs, they say, we're not talking about all men. You should know this already. We're only talking about shitty men. If you wonder if it applies to you, it probably does. But, this backwards logic is not something an advertiser should ever assume the broader public will instantly know.
Yeah, and I think I fall back to the position of men are men for biological reasons. We have evolved this way, and some blanket statement about what manhood should be goes against our very programmed nature. And if it's something that's going to be changed, it's going to take some evolution. I don't think it's a simple mindset. Of course, bullying does, I guess, have its place. It's made people stronger characters. There are people that base their current, livelihood and current passions based on bullying they've gotten in the past. But yeah, bullies suck. There's some other things that, aren't, things that, kids need to work out on the playground. The one dude that, kind of like went, oh boy, and started after a woman, the guy said, hey dude, not cool. Who knows what that guy was trying to do? Was he trying to ask for his number? Is that okay? It doesn't seem like in today's age it is. But that is a reaction, a biological one men have to attractive women or women they perceive to be attractive. I want to know more about her,
That's what I'm thinking about. They talk about objectification. Oh, you're only interested in her looks. Well, the looks have got you interested enough to talk to her about other things. If nothing else,
that's just the introduction, right? Looks are a piece of it, but
personified. You know who's actually objectified? Your fucking garbage man. He's objectified. Wonder why? Because you think about how many people. Now, I actually heard about a guy. I think it was maybe Ken Gillette. Talking about his dad wrapping up a broken glass bottle in tape and so forth, so the garbage man wouldn't accidentally cut himself. Now, that was not objectified. But how many people actually do that shit? The garbage man is someone who comes and takes your shit away, and you don't think about them as a human being in general.
I tip them $100 on Christmas.
All right, you do. Okay.
They do hard work, man.
But in general, do you think most people actually think of the garbage man as anything else but a utility? And they should think of him as a human. But
what about your delivery people, the people that deliver your packages?
That's another example of an objectified class.
Yeah. My brother-in-law does that. He works part-time for UPS or one of them. He works part-time for one of the major package deliveries. And he got from a wealthy, one of his wealthy, not customers, he delivers packages to their house, but they're appreciative of, and they tipped him something like $1,000. But he gets tips all the time, apparently. But yeah, I would gather most people don't. I would never think to tip the guy that brings me my Amazon packages. There's sometimes they're dropping off shit at like 7 p.m. I have nothing more to say on that.
I'm vaping more of my CBD oil. It actually does help with acid reflux, it seems. That could be pure placebo, but it does seem to be helpful.
Do you know they made that illegal, like a level 1 felony in Ohio?
These are the same people. Ohio was going to legalize pot a few years ago.
They did. Well, they did medical marijuana. So now CBD oil is illegal unless you get it from a dispensary, but there's no dispensaries around this that are open. And
I have down a street I'm very close to, down Charlestown Road. Not that that means anything to anybody in this cast, but maybe Jack if he's back on. There's a vape store called Cool Breeze, and I can get CBD oil. The stuff's expensive, though. I think next time I may order online. I like to talk to these people because they have knowledge, so I pay a little extra. But I think next time I get any CBD vape juice, I'm probably going to order online and get a little bit more powerful for cheaper.
I like Hummingbird. They're an online service. They sell pretty good. We just have a Dick that is part of our. He's a congressman for us, and he has ties to like pharmaceutical people.
Yeah, I heard.
So he's not doing what's best. He's doing stuff that is gaining money. I mean, it's pure and simple. It is for him to try to legalize things that are harmless. There is nothing bad about CBD. It doesn't get you high. People don't overdose on it. There's no health risk. What the fuck? Why is it considered equal to heroin?
Well, here's what I'm thinking, and this might be an Ohio thing. It applies in other states too. I heard the reasons the legalization of pot thing failed in Ohio is because they weren't going to do it the right way. Because there was going to be restrictions on how much you could grow yourself, if at all, and there was going to be an oligarchy of people who could actually make it. So it wasn't like anybody could start a business. There was only a set of companies. So it was kind of monopolistic in some way. Well,
it was. Yeah, and one of the
down because they didn't like the way they were going to legalize it.
One of the people that brought that bill forward was a football player, like a former Browns player, the one that got rejected. But medical marijuana is legal in Ohio. There's a list of approved doctors that you could go to, but they're chipping away at the types of things that would clear you for medical marijuana. So, some people have anxiety they'd like to use medical marijuana for. I think it's been nixed. There's a whole bunch of other ones. Like you have to be in serious, pain, a disc is fucked up in your back, or you get cluster headaches or something like that. Aside from that, whatever.
What are some states are saying you couldn't have a gun if you were on medical marijuana?
Well, you can't.
I don't think
federal.
Ohio was.
No, it's federal because if you're medical, you're prohibited because you're on drugs.
Yeah,
they just need to do it on a federal level. It would be sweet. Look, I am opposed to Donald Trump in almost every way, except for some of the kind of interesting withdrawing troops and things like that. But if he were to just push through or try to get pushed through, recreational marijuana for the entire U.S., that'd be a huge win.
You won't do that because you forget there's in Wisconsin it's called the Tavern Lobby. There's the pharmaceutical lobby. There's all kinds of lobbies that would put up huge fucking boulders that says, nope, not going to happen. We're going to junk this bill up and do what we can to block it.
Yeah, but we're up to almost all states have medical and like 12 have recreational. There's enough now that Congress has some left wingers. Granted, some of them are neoliberals.
It's still
they're already looking to put a bill together. What's that?
But that dog's not going to hunt. Eventually, you're gonna come up to that immovable object known as lobbyist money.
I think it's just becoming more and more accepted among American people. I think it's up to like 80% want it. I think their constituents.
80% of American people can want anything, but when it comes up to that money,
sure.
those politicians are going to kowtow and says, "Nope, I am not going to face a primary challenge that's going to be backed by."
You're talking about state or federal legalization?
Federal.
Oh, come! You had the former was it the leader of the House, the Mitch McConnell? Didn't he join as a CEO or the board of directors of some organization? You don't get one of the most powerful people in the world joining that organization if it's going to fail.
Yeah,
but Mitch McConnell's
Republicans and Dems
and
are on board.
Do you think for a second Mitch McConnell will toss his support towards medical marijuana in Kentucky? This is fucking Mitch McConnell in Kentucky.
I don't think it's going to happen during Trump's term. I don't think it's going to happen during Trump's term, but I think it's a foregone conclusion. It will be federally legalized.
It's not so much of a foregone conclusion. Anybody, if someone's willing to throw the money up that says, "Hey, we don't want this to fucking happen," it's not going to happen. Especially
there's a lot of people who put money down saying we do want it to happen. It goes both ways.
I'm just saying. I know enough about McConnell to know how he thinks.
Yeah, and he's not always going to be in power.
He's not really in power now. Outside of what
he can determine what legislation goes on the he can determine what legislation goes on the floor in the Senate. He is very much so in power.
Is it bad when I see Mitch McConnell? The first person I think of is I know a guy who married a woman and she looks like Mitch McConnell's little sister. Like the whole next
she looked like a turtle.
Yes, she looks like a turtle.
I'm trying to think. Is he still? What is he? He's the majority leader of the U.S. Senate. Okay, so he does have power in the Senate, and that's the side of the House that actually approves laws.
Well, they're all involved in the lawmaking process.
Not lawmaking, but they have to sign off at the end, right?
Well, they both have to agree.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
But even
if Congress,
how about here in the state of Kentucky, where marijuana is definitely outlawed, where it's definitely illegal? You think he's really going to put his scale on the thumb? You think he's going to put his thumb on the scale about that?
Based on how it's been going, it's most likely than not just going to wait for more states to legalize it before putting up for federal decriminalization or taking it off of Schedule 1.
I like the decriminalization
because the one thing that McConnell fears in the state of Kentucky is the Christian right, and that's the people who keep voting his ass in. He does not want to go up against them.
Okay, several things. One, how old is Mitch McConnell?
It doesn't matter how old he is.
He
will fucking hold on to that 76 to the day he dies.
Dude, some of these politicians hold on forever and a day, and I'm like, I think about people like Maxine Waters. I'm like, you're a very old lady who has a shitload of money. Why not retire and enjoy the last years of your life? I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I guess maybe I like the sense of power. But
power. I mean, look at the Crypt Keeper, Dianne Feinstein. Yeah,
I know people like $1.2 million in the bank, and they're looking like, okay, I'm 43. How can I retire? 44.
Oh, Kentucky's still fully illegal. At least Ohio is medical and decriminalized.
Kentucky has good soil for pot, my understanding. My understanding what it takes to grow good tobacco is also what it takes to grow good pot. Not that I've done either, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to Colorado.
Of course not,
with my
because they
cousin's
get federal money for marijuana eradication in Eastern Kentucky. Why?
Yeah, the current administration is not a fan of marijuana.
Well,
It's not so much about the current administration. All the administrations weren't a fan of it.
The previous administration was a huge fan of it. What the hell are you talking about?
Dickhead,
But they were still piping in. They were still piping in money to fucking do marijuana eradication. How else do you think the state of Kentucky?
They did that shit down in Arizona. That was crazy. It still passed, but like the people that put up the money to back down that bill, that recreational marijuana bill, it was like legit opiate companies.
Oh, that's shit.
Like, what the fuck?
So, and that's wait, they were going for or against it?
They were going against it.
Oh yeah, no shit, they would. Of course, direct competition.
No. But it was super clear that they weren't shadow. They weren't shadow supporting the negative. They were openly supporting the anti-recreational marijuana law.
I admit I do not know necessarily why. I don't know why they would not be more subtle about it, but maybe they figured it's so blatantly obvious. We the pharmaceutical painkiller industry are the main opponent federally, commercially against medical marijuana or recreational marijuana, that there's no point in hiding what's the obvious.
The best thing the Democratic House can do is start going after these companies, especially the leads, like they did the tobacco companies. Strip them, make them powerless, because they got a whole fucking generation hooked on their bullshit pills that they knew were addictive, highly addictive. They knew it. They lied about it. It's now come out, last year or something like that. Hold their feet to the fire, man. They should have no lobbyists.
You can't stop them lobbying, but you can close a lot of doors.
Yeah. But are there tobacco lobbyists really anymore with power?
So tobacco's main consumers are not primarily in the United States. Even though a lot of tobacco is produced in the U.S., a lot of their consumers are actually international. And their lobbying is mainly for trade agreements.
Yeah, okay. I get that. They don't have the power anymore to kind of get their way like they did in the
of course
past.
not. Of course not.
I want to make the opiate folks the same way. Not necessarily the pharmaceutical industry, because a lot of innovation comes out of that. Of course, they do some bad things, and those things need to be stripped out. But I don't want to damn an entire industry that come up with solutions to, illness.
To disempower the tobacco lobby, that was a multi-decade. That took an entire generation. Sure. They were that powerful.
Yep, and I think we can start stripping that down, right? Starting now with the at least with the opiate side of the discussion. I don't like what they did to those who are in pain, legitimate pain, where they almost sort of criminalized it. Being in pain, and then they started restricting the amount of pills they can get. And these were people that
you mean the opioid crisis? That's a consequence of lawmakers panicking over. What I keep hearing is a lot of people dying due to opioid overdose.
And it's not necessarily opioid abuse via pills. It was their doctors restricted their access, so they turned to something cheaper, which was heroin. Heroin is sometimes laced with fentanyl, and those folks overdosed and died. Now imagine the type of pain.
Then that's not the narrative that's going around.
It's not the narrative, but that's what the studies show. The studies show
I always heard. I have to agree with Rick on this one. That's a lot of people. It's when the prescription pain pills, the prescription opioids are withdrawn, they start going to alternative sources.
We're
So that seemed to be like chapter 2 of the whole thing. Chapter 1 being lawmakers saying there's no regulation on painkillers. It's flooded in communities that literally have no real hope for the future. All they really do is take painkillers, opiates, and just waste away.
Yeah,
Restrict the
now those
opiate,
things
then
needed to be
heroin.
dealt
I can see that.
But somebody going to the Cleveland Clinic. So I had an operation to my ulnar nerve. Now I don't experience a great deal of pain. But I did have nerve surgery, which is painful. They gave me 5 Vicodin 5s, which are about as low as you can get, and wouldn't re-up it. I didn't need them to re-up it. It just had 0 refills. It was 5 after a surgery. Now, contrast that with my I had torn a bicep and a rotator cuff in a jiu-jitsu match, and after surgery they gave me 120 pills, and I've never took opiates before. 120 pills with 6 refills.
Holy shit!
That was in 2010-ish. 2000. No, it was actually in 2008. So contrast those two. So they've done a lot of work to make sure that doctors aren't willy-nilly handling these things out. I know people that have gone to pain clinics and been treated like a criminal. You know, they have the ability to look up every medication that you're taking through some system that they've put together. I need to do more research on that, where they can pull up all of the what they would call what do you call categorized
Schedule 2.
scheduled, yeah, all the scheduled drugs that you have taken, the frequency, the amount, all of that. They can pull that all up while you're sitting in a doctor's office, in a pain clinic, and they've made people that legitimately deal with a high level of pain due to some conditions. They made them feel like criminals, and that's a bad thing. So an overreach to you know, a good good action, or I'm sorry, there was probably good intent behind the moves. However, the unintended consequences is you leave people that are in considerable pain on a daily basis with no recourse aside from dipping into the black market for medication. Now, if marijuana was around, potentially that would help them, because marijuana is supposedly good for pain.
I know the CBD oil is supposed to be anti-inflammatory, and I never trust any supplement that lists everything as something it fixes. You know, nothing fixes everything, but it has seemed to help a whole hell of a lot of my acid reflux.
What's that? CBD?
Yeah, CBD has.
Oh yeah, dude. I have had a knee issue for years. Again, an injury from, you know, my explosive MMA movements. I've had an issue with my knee for years. I did have a ACL tendon surgery, which I probably shouldn't have had. That generally heals by itself, but I wanted to rush back in to training. In any case, CBD oil. When I walk up and down steps, I do not feel that pain when I walk up steps anymore. So helpful. And fish oil didn't provide that. Fish oil is supposed to be a anti-inflammatory as well. But CBD oil is what gave me relief.
Now, let me ask a stupid question. I don't know. Are you taking the oil internally, or are you using it like a lotion? How does that work?
I take drops under the tongue sublingually.
Okay.
I can't take it now because Ohio's illegalized it. But if I were still taking it, it would be under the tongue.
Okay.
Is that better?
Because I don't know.
Ethernet protocol, collision, people back off, randomize how long it takes before they start sending messages again. I've been doing the vape stuff. I don't know what's the effectiveness of the stuff under the tongue or not.
I think they even tell you in like if you go to there are really good sites out there. There's some subreddits about CBD specifically. And apparently every individual is different. Some people like it as a lotion on the part of their body affected.
A lotion on its skin, else it gets the inflammation again.
Exactly. Some people do like it to vape it. And some people like to take it with coffee or something. I don't know how it mixes since it's an oil. But my preferred method and the one that was taught to me was under the tongue. So whatever. If you're getting relief and it helps you, you're probably doing it the right way. You might try under the tongue to see. You're not gonna kill yourself doing it. Isn't that a happy message?
Might try it.
All right, we are at almost 3 hours.
Shit.
And we're talking about CBDs and poppies.
Come back and comment on this later. I told someone the pink tag.
Well, thank you all for listening, and hopefully you'll join us all next week for the Party Drug podcast.
Party Drug, yes. Well, we got a few more things in the show notes. At least
we do. I thought we'd been done for a while.
Oh shit. Well, I have something in here about Grim Workshop lockpicks.
Oh, okay, go for it.
Wait, no, someone has something here about Cloudflare. I mean, whose is that?
Not mine.
We ran out too long.
Not mine, but only thing I'll say is fuck Cloudflare.
All right. The Grim Workshop lockpick things was mine. Yeah. I got the link out there. You can go check it out. They all neat. They're nice pocket tools. The credit card set is actually semi-usable. It's better than one of those like business card lockpick sets. The ones in the dog tags and the zipper pulls are too small to be very useful. You don't have enough distance to have a decent tension tool. So I can't recommend them. And I've yet to have a whole lot of luck unless the thing is only not double locked, only single locked on handcuffs with the little handcuff key that comes in the flat card. And you can check out. Actually, you know what? Let's see if I have anything embarrassing up right now, and I will share my screen. Your entire screen, share. All right, let's see what we got here. I think that's it. The show notes. Grim Workshop tools. Like I ordered this set, and I'm gonna scroll down so you can see what the hell I'm talking about. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
I ordered this set. Now, this is the first card before they actually got into lockpicking. And I don't know, if you're a lockpicker, you can look at this card. You can tell these people saw what lockpicks looked like once and decided to cut a card. But this is worthless. This one is worthless.
That looks like, do you remember when Kevin Mitnick was handing out his...
I have one. There's a video.
His card?
His business card?
His business card, it was essentially that?
Yes. Well, his is even better than that in some ways. This one has better steel and it's a little thicker, but I cut my shit out of my hand. There's a video on YouTube of me cutting the shit out of my hand on one of Mitnick's business cards. But this thing, it bends. Like this one I've bent and this one I've bent really quick. What the fuck they were thinking with this jagged ass saw effect, I don't know. Now the new redesigned card, this one in the middle, it's not hideous, but it's still a pocket tool. So they put tension tools built into the card itself. Let me scroll up so you can better see it. That one's not hideous. And they also have this little escape saw. Oh, this is supposed to be a handcuff key. It doesn't work well. The shim works, but shimming, if the cop is dumb to double lock it, shit. But I mean, the average cop, if he's all is going to double lock it, and the shim won't work. That's why you press the little button and you use the little, I don't know what you call it, a Smith & Wesson, a switch or whatever, to make it to where it cannot get any closer. And the reason you want to do that is, one, it keeps the suspect from shimming it, and two, it keeps it from getting tighter and tighter on the suspect's hands and cutting off circulation and possibly causing a liability issue. Now, the second card they designed, this one like right here, it's not hideous, Well, it's not great, but it's serviceable. But the ones that are built in to the dog tags or the zipper pulls, they're just too small to be really practical.
Not to mention, if they're on a zipper pull or dog tag, they're likely to get pulled out because they're going to get banged against something.
Maybe, and also they have some kind of like sticky system to make it where you can put them back in the card. Like most card picks, they pop out and they stay out. You can't put them back together. This, it has some kind of like sticker system. I thought it was magnetic at first, but I asked them about it, and then I've got some. It's more sticker based. I'm thinking about doing a bigger review of these. I gotta say, I can't recommend it other than the main card. Everything else, not that useful. But the main card might be. But if you go out to Grim Tools' actual website, they have a bunch of other things like survival cards with fish hooks and all sorts of other crazy stuff. So that's my take on them. I'm hoping to do a full review of it later on when I get the inclination to. And I also need to do a review of the Swick when it comes in.
Is it good enough to do a review on, or?
Shit. Well, I good enough to do a review on and say, God, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit. This is kind of useful. So I'm not spending much time on most of the stuff. Now the Swick tool that's coming out, it's looking to be the best jackknife set of lockpicks out there. And I know a lot of people like that because of the convenience. And it's never as good as having a full, like normal, more professional kit. But Christine from B-side San Francisco, San Francisco. Well, she does go to that, I believe. But also San Francisco Tool. She designed some of the picks for them, and I've tried some of her computer-generated Bogotas, and they're actually really nice. So I'm looking forward to reviewing the Swick also. But yeah, right now for the Grim stuff, if you're going to order at any level, just order the base card because everything else I just don't think is going to be that useful. But anyway, that's just a quick review of that. What is next in the show notes, if anything?
One of those links I put on there, it's basically just I mentioned it earlier about the insurance claim. It's that last one, and that other one I just found. But if we want to, we can move it to a later date or something. It's just a neat thing because a judge ruled that biometrics are protected, whereas traditional historical arguments have been no, biometrics are not protected in the Fifth Amendment, whereas passwords are because.
Oh yeah, the Californian judge.
Yeah.
Wait. So now a police officer stops you. They can't ask you for your phone's password, or they can, but they can't get it from you.
Yeah.
Is it now saying that they can also not ask you for your biometrics, your fingerprint, or your face scan?
Court case out of California.
They cannot demand it from you. It will be a violation of the Fifth Amendment.
Well,
yeah. I always thought the same. But
this is a court case out of California, so it's a start. It's not a definite yet. So if you're in California, that applies. So just kind of.
So is it a circuit? I forget. Was it a circuit court?
No, I don't think it was a circuit court. I think it was a district court.
Some really cool things come out of California, but most of it's bullshit.
Yeah, Northern California Federal District. So
for those of you listening, who don't know, if there's a circuit split, if it goes up to a high enough court and it's enough courts in the U.S. disagree on something, it increases the likelihood the Supreme Court will take up the case.
Right.
That's a significant.
But the bad news is, who has just been selected as a justice that is not big on civil
that's my
liberties.
big point about Kavanaugh. Is my understanding is his Fourth Amendment stances are not the best work. So he might be reading the letter of the law. However, some of the letter of the law, my understanding, was written back before it was so common to give third parties your fucking information.
Yeah.
Yeah, the letter of the law is like, if the information leaves your home, obviously you intended it for the world to see. You didn't tend to keep it private if you left your home.
Yeah, he's bullshit on
18th century. Like, when was the Fourth written?
1700s, back when it was part of the Bill of Rights, the first 10.
At the time, it made sense. At the time, it made some sense. Now, it doesn't.
Yeah, so no one could have conceived of what would have happened of technology back then. My gosh.
So,
I love this. They wouldn't have conceived thing. I love it.
Okay.
But I agree. No. I agree with this one. But the other ones, like, they would never have conceded of a modern weapon, a modern gun, or the other one is.
Well, there was some weird kind of multi-firing guns back in the day. And
I find that to be a very silly anti-gun argument.
Exactly.
Especially since there were repeating guns.
That's the one I dislike the most. The other one is the freedom of speech issue, where they say they wouldn't have envisioned a Twitter or a YouTube.
Yeah, the same argument applies to the First Amendment, where it only applies to the printing press, the written word, and the physically written word, but the handwritten word and the spoken word. Internet better doesn't apply. No,
I heard an interesting argument about all that. The communication medium seems to matter a lot. Imagine if people, instead of tweeting it out, were talking on a phone, and their phone call suddenly got disconnected if they said the wrong word. That would be rightfully be called fascism in its purest form. And yet, if the same thing. Oh yeah, no doubt.
China is doing it.
But thinking if that was done in social media, it's considered proper, it's considered rightful, it's considered safety. It's
by some people.
From an academic standpoint, it's fascinating.
Simple.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of drama recently about the protector of the gay frogs and being kicked off of various media.
It's just petty at this point.
Agreed.
I mean, getting kicked off of Roku, it's like, oh no, he lost his opportunity of 5,000 viewers.
I think Jared Holt's a good one to watch because you can see he does have a big impact on people that are.
Yeah, that's the guy who creeps me the fuck out. Those people want to censor everybody, no matter what they're saying. Everybody's a fucking alt-right person to them, and it's just,
Well, the Roku thing was also interesting at first.
It was,
because their initial statement was, "We don't want to discriminate based on what people say." And then 6 hours later, we've heard some complaints about Alex Jones and removing him from our platform.
The biggest complaint is his Sandy Hook stance, which makes me think he's a bit of a scumbag. That doesn't mean I want him, purged from online, but it does mean that I can't take him seriously.
Yeah, that was not so great. And also, like Paul Joseph Watson, I know some people hate the guy, but generally I like his commentary. I wish he would distance himself from some of the InfoWars stuff. Because
he's an employee of InfoWars.
I know he is. I know.
Is he still?
Yeah.
I thought he split off.
He's doing his own thing, but I think he's still paid by Alex Jones's organization.
Okay. How was Alex Jones getting any funding? Just because his website was deplatformed, wasn't it?
Well,
he still has his website.
He has advertisers and donations, and
And he sells supplements. Don't forget.
He sells water filters, man. What?
Have you seen the video by Sargon of Akkad that he went into the whole background of Alex Jones went off about they're putting stuff in the water that makes the frogs turn
chemicals in the water turns the frogs gay.
Yeah, Sargon of Akkad went into that in detail, and there was something called atrazine. He looked into it. Well, first of all, Alex Jones is wrong on a couple things. One, I'm pretty damn sure they're not burning it deliberately. Two, I think it's only some frogs. I don't know if he said all frogs. And three, it's not technically turning them gay. It's turning frogs trans. Because it's actually gender for a frog. I mean completely, as in the frog can even reproduce as the new gender.
I'll be entirely honest. I'm just happier laughing at Alex Jones and dissecting what looks like a Moonlander conspiracy.
Yeah, Alex Jones is fucking entertainment. He's a living fucking meme.
I love him on the Joe Rogan podcast.
I've always thought he's part of his act is that he's bombastic. I think if you take him seriously are making a grave mistake.
Yeah, in his divorce,
he lost custody of his kids in part because of his act. It was mentioned in a custody battle.
Well, does he live in the Austin area, which is kind of pretty far left, and he's a man.
And also, I was going to say, child custody court does not really favor men.
That's why I said in part.
In part, yeah.
That's not feminism.
Well, the
What I
10
mean-
years doctrine sort of is, but depends on who you ask.
No, I mean the fact that women get preferential treatment in family courts isn't really feminism or what they stand
That's
for.
more of an MRA thing.
Oh, I'm not saying it's MRA.
What's an MRA?
I'm just saying there is a bias in family court that favors the women and disfavors me. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
I don't know what an MRA is, but
Men's
I
right
have
activists.
seen prominent feminists that have talked out about this.
Yeah, it's the one thing I've seen a lot of feminists actually concede a point to MRAs, men's rights activists, which are supposedly supposed to be the men's version of feminists, but
They got to be miserable human beings.
they largely are, and so yeah, I'm just kind of surprised. That's the one thing I can relatively frequently hear feminists concede to MRAs as a point.
Yeah. All right. I have to look up what these guys are all about.
Men's rights activists, the best ones to look up. Okay, if you the other kind of look up the hoteps, the first things you probably want to find are people.
Shit! You know what? I had that documentary, The Red Pill, which I posted for you guys. That
a decent coverage of it. Oh, God, there was a radical feminist, like gender studies person in Canada or something. I commented on one of her tweets, and she blocked me so fast. But she just was talking about what it was about, and she was like, "You never watched the fucking thing." The MRAs I would actually check out are the people from the Honey Badgers, especially a lady who goes by the name. Well, she goes. Her name is Karen Strong, but she goes by the name of Girl Wife What?
I know Karen Strong from some other things.
I know people like, well, it's a certain lockpicker we all know, not me, who wants wine and is complaining about something like, it sounds like MRA rhetoric. Dude, you don't know anything about MRAs except for what you heard from your wife and what you read in Jezebel. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, there was a podcast you recommended to me, and they were talking about Karen Strong.
Like, I've seen some stuff from the Honey Badgers radio. Like, have you ever seen, like, Anita Sarkeesian diagnose video games that get anally attentive about every possible thing to get offended by? I have seen some people on the Honey Badgers radio do the exact same thing in the movie. Well, almost the same thing. But in general, I'd say check out some of Karen Strong's stuff if you want to know more about them. There's another guy named Paul Elam. The problem with Paul Elam is he deliberately, I think, tries to provoke people, and it comes off bad. But the MRAs are not nearly as bad as people make them out to be. And then you have dumb fucks who lump the MRAs, the MGTOWs, the pickup artists, and everybody else together. They're not the same thing, and they don't even like each other in a lot of cases.
The MRAs just have no real effective organization. Like their biggest name thing, I think, is called their community called A Voice for Men.
Oh, they're men.
And in the community, the guy who leads it is just so cringy.
Paul Elam can be cringy. That's the guy who leads that particular one. Like I said, I look at the various fringe groups, but the MRAs I don't think are nearly as well. Let's put it this way: I let my daughter hang out with an MRA before I'd ever let her hang out with a male feminist, because I've never heard of an MRA raping a woman ever. But I can show you huge lists of male feminists who have raped women. So
yeah,
the MRAs, and a lot of the MRAs I've encountered online are actually women who have either sons they're worried about in the future, or two, they had a father that got fucked up by the court system.
Yeah, I was the dad that got fucked in the court system. Thankfully, several years later, it was rectified by a very good guardian ad litem. That's a lawyer for your kids, right? Guardian ad litem is for them. It's not for either spouse. And she talked to them and found out I was the one that they should grow up and live with. So that was awesome. It sucked, going through Cleveland courts and having mounting evidence that there is a mental unwellness within a particular person, many attempts to commit suicide in front of the children and still lose that case.
Yeah, generally speaking, from what I've seen in cases I've seen, the mom has to be pretty fucked up before the dad gets custody.
Oh, she was there. With the exception of drugs, she was there. But you know what? Things turned out good. But I understand the point of some men, especially ones that end up having to pay millions and millions upon millions of dollars to somebody that they don't fuck anymore. I don't want to get too much into it because I know it's a weird subject, and I don't know a whole lot about it.
I only know what I hear from other people because I know other people who are friends of mine. So it's like secondhand, not third-hand knowledge that they get kind of fucked. Like I got a buddy who, I have a friend. He's a good guy, but he sticks his dick in crazy way too fucking often.
Yeah. If you guys in this cast, actually the people on the cast here want access to that Cassie J Red Pill video, it's interesting. I can share it with you.
Yeah, I think I bought a copy of it on Amazon or something a while back. So it's like,
yeah, same here.
Because she originally was writing it, and she's going to be an expose. Then she actually found out more about MRAs, and she started to be more fair about it. And then the feminists who were helping fund it pulled funding.
Isn't that where the GIF of that red feminist is from?
Oh,
the red hair one?
No, I think she was at some protest. Like there was some men's rights group that was having a meeting. And by the way, the men's rights, if you talk about, that dumb fuck who was saying about, if you're a man, you get less hate. Try actually having a feminist group on a university campus versus an MRA group on campus and see who actually gets the most hate. But yeah, that was some group she was protesting and whining at and just generally acting like a nut job. And she did just a disservice for her own cause.
I can definitely agree that there are some people in the InfoSec community that could be considered marginalized. That is not the same for feminism. I don't think feminism are a marginalized community. They are about as mainstream as it gets.
Yeah, one of the kind of confused me. I'm like, I see all sorts of women's groups for various text things, but I never see like a general African American group or what's no group like Native American group or Native Americans in tech. How come those groups never form their own little organizations for helping promote? I only see ones.
InfoSec? You mean InfoSec or
tech in general? Like I've never seen promoting Native Americans in tech or promoting African Americans in tech.
There are some, at least locally here. There are some, and I'm going to call them black because they're American regardless of. Okay,
I like that. I see, I'm not black, so I don't know what name to choose. I personally find calling people black is less disrespectful than saying African American, because African American to me makes it sound like it's more important that the African than that they're American than that they're American.
Right. Yeah. So there are black men. They get together and talk about tech in my local community. They have a user group, but anybody's invited. But it's primarily
Charles is in one of those groups.
Oh yeah,
it's primarily for
women. He's in a black. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know about Native Americans because, early on, they were kind of almost wiped out.
Yeah.
So there's so few of them.
I know of some wireless networking projects on different reservations. I used to be in the community wireless networking movement back in the early 2000s, and at one of the conferences, there was a guy there who was a member of a tribe out in, I think, San Diego County, and he was talking about his experiences putting up towers on tops of mesas and stuff like that because the problem that they had was their reservation was kind of little bits and pieces scattered all over, and so they were trying to build their own network to link the various parts of their reservation together.
Oh, kick ass! I need to get Sarah on at some point in time. She does some kind of work with various Native American tribes to help them out, and I think that was technically related. She's in InfoSec, I need to have her on because I'd be interested in knowing about that. Because occasionally I have questions about like the whole Elizabeth Warren fiasco that happened recently. I was like,
Yeah.
so what do people who have a significant amount of Native American heritage? What do they think of this entire situation?
They sent letters to her. They were super upset. You know who you might want to consider having on after all of this, especially the Tim Pool video and DerbyCon, is Marlene again.
Marlene's welcome anytime she can join. I remember she once said something about she bored everybody to death on the cast. I said, no, you didn't bore everybody to death on the cast. I
loved it. I told her afterwards. It was amazing.
You bored everybody on the cast.
Yeah.
Get it?
No, I think we all shut up and listened because it was such an interesting topic. She's cool people.
Yeah, Marlene's always welcome. I like her. She got fucked over by the Mean Girls Club in InfoSec because she didn't have all the right views. Like there was some group that she wanted to go teach for. She was going to help women in tech, but she also said, "Well, you can't be exclusive with women. You got to let men into this also." And they freaked out about that.
Well, her name came up. That document that somebody created about the issues in the InfoSec community and conferences and whatnot. Her name was on screen for that. So I don't know if she knows that. It's just an interesting little tidbit.
I think she knows it. I don't know if she read the entire article, but I talked to her some stuff about what's going on in my side because she's more development as opposed to InfoSec. So she does dev work, I think, some kind of medical dev work.
Yes.
I talked to her a little bit about that, but yeah, she's always welcome on. But yeah, I can formally invite her if I do another Women in Tech cast. By the way, that was the most fall. This cast actually we got up to 25 at one point. That one I think we had up to 70 something.
Yes, yeah, she's a big name pool. She's followed by Jonathan Haidt, which is a guy I hold extreme respect for. I've read all of his books. I try to consume anything that he puts out.
He's a Paradox Academy guy, right?
Yes, yeah. He is so considerate. He is so choosy with the words that he uses. I just like his presentation. He is all about facts and represents some great studies in his books. Really great message. Somebody that everybody should be following or paying attention to because he's saying some real shit.
Because I'm pretty sure I may have accidentally followed him because of the Intellectual Dark Web. By the way, with an incredibly cringy name. Intellectual Dark Web.
For sure. Name. Yeah, for sure. I think some of them are trying to back away from it. Some are embracing it.
Who came up with that name?
Like Eric Weinstein coined the name.
Mr. Weinstein, all respect, but that was a terrible name.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a name for the group. It was the name for the activities that they were participating in, really. But you got guys like Dave Rubin, who's a simpleton, who's trying to be. I
don't know if he's a simpleton. He doesn't press things though. Like, have you seen the Freedom Tunes cartoon about him?
Oh yeah,
I agree with that.
No, yeah. he's just not. Look, when he's on stage with a guy like Eric Weinstein, Sam Harris, Brett Weinstein, Douglas Murray, and people like that, he stands out as the dumbest person on stage. It's obvious.
I don't think the guy's dumb, but he's definitely the person that has the less input. But then again, his format is more interview and let the other person speak and then bring things out of him.
I hold my own opinion of him. It is what it is. I just think he's. I don't know if he knows how to push back. And you're right, he doesn't. There are some things that have been said on the show where he obviously should have pushed back.
There's one interview I saw of his where he interviewed Roseanne Barr, and Roseanne Barr was obviously either drunk or high as fuck.
Oh yeah, there's been a couple of them like that. Who's that comedian that was on Full House? he was drunk on the podcast on his cast as well. Probably shouldn't have aired. But yeah. So anyway, he's a voice in the in this. I don't know what you want to call it, in this community of people that are reacting to this outrage culture and whatnot. So I do listen to his interviews. I just see him as like another CNN mouthpiece that is basically asking, simple questions and yada, yada, yada. I know he's addressed his interview style. I get that. I sort of understand it. But he pushes himself as sort of part of the intellectual dark web. And he also pushes himself as a stand-up comedian, which is odd. So he follows Jordan Peterson around to kind of get that name recognition. He's also going on Fox News and doing these ads. Not really ads, maybe, but for his new, type of Patreon alternative that I don't know how he gets past the initial issues that Patreon ran into, and that has something to do with the merchants, payment processing, and Visa and MasterCard. I don't know.
See how that goes, because I will dump Patreon once that happens. But until then,
you have a Patreon?
I have a Patreon, but it's only like $60 or $75 a month. All right, there's a certain piece of shit that has a different video stream that has lied about me and talked shit, and my main goal was to have more money coming in than they did.
Oh, I got you. I completely canceled my account on there. I donated to 5 or 6 folks on there, and I just pulled back all of my support.
I understand that. Yeah, I will make.
If you had something on your website that was just a direct link to PayPal, I would certainly donate to that.
I do have direct link to PayPal, but the one I have doesn't do like automatic monthly.
Yeah, there's some others that you might consider that can do that. I know Tim Pool. I looked at his page briefly because he mentioned it in his video. And again, really not a fan of his right now. He just seems to do outrage stuff, and that's not enough for me.
Gotcha.
Whatever. I like the frontline reporting that he did, and that's when I first started following him. But whatever, he has set up monthly payments through his PayPal site somehow. So I don't know if there's something above that.
I need to look into it. I know.
You can do monthly payments with PayPal. It's called a subscription.
Yeah, and Sam Harris has the same thing. I listen to Sam Harris. I donate to him, and it's all through PayPal. And I give on a monthly basis. It's actually monthly, based on the amount of podcasts he puts out. So if he only puts out a podcast in a week, my donation to him goes down automatically. If he puts out 3, it goes up.
I tried doing the per video thing, but no one signed up. When I went out the per video thing, as Aaron Clary suggested, I got better results.
Oh shit, we are still live. I didn't realize that.
Oh,
I don't know if people care. People are still listening to what people are listening to us ramble on.
And then we're going to go offline to this bullshit. We love you, folks. And if you want to be on, just contact me offline, and we'll check if you're not insane and have you on. What's something that? Well, that's what I can't say. All right. People send me stuff in various chats, and let me see. What was you in the show notes? What did I? Okay. Judge rules that biometrics are protected under 50 minutes. We covered that a little bit. That kind of sucks. I don't like that, but don't let them know which finger. Don't use the finger at all. I've seen someone use biometrics.
That's a good thing, Adrian. That's not a bad thing.
Judge rules that biometrics protect. Oh, they are protected. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Most judges have said it's not protected. A different judge now says it is protected.
That is a good thing. But the people
Yes.
who don't say it's protected, just use your foreskin as your biometric. That's easy. Anyway, analbiometrics.com. Check it out.
Anal biometrics?
All right, this all started as a joke. A guy named Noah Shipman, he did talk about intrusive biometrics. It was something like a tongue scanner. And this was like SkyDogCon 2 or 3. And I was like, no. That is not, 2012, so it had to have been SkyDogCon 2. I thought, no, tongue biometrics is not invasive. Anal biometrics is. However, it's convenient. You take off your pants, you sit down on the scope, it automatically logs you in. I mean, how do you get more convenient than that? Anyway, all right, the biometrics, so that's actually good news. Hopefully some other people find that way. And then the not PETA insurance claim denied as act of war.
I talked about that briefly earlier, so
Okay.
it's kind of a rehash of that.
And
Basically,
if you want to talk more in depth about it next week, we can do that too.
yeah, maybe.
Let's copy and paste it up. But I think at this point, we're going to bullshit about other things offline. Everybody who joined the cast, I appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see y'all next week if I haven't offended you too much. Y'all have a good night.
Good night, everyone.